Hello, everyone. I'm joined today with Lisa, and she went by Miss Shadow Paint back in the old GamerGate days. How are you doing today, Lisa?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing, man?
Good, good. We haven't talked too much since I got back into space. I think we talked on Nurgle
I
Show, and
know, right?
you reviewed my GamerGate debate with Ninetales, I believe.
I kind of managed to come in at the last end of it. Could have been better, but
Well, I think the
yeah,
consensus,
learning experience.
yeah, it was a learning experience for sure. Like, it's weird because like the consensus among quote unquote like my community was that like, oh, you could have done like way better. You've missed so many opportunities. And then like the consensus from the moderators community, which leans more like anti GG, was like, oh wow, you actually did a
Hmm.
really good job. I'm like, what? But I think there's some areas where I definitely could have done way better.
Yeah, yeah. Like you made a couple of jokes that made me go, "Oh my fucking god! Why
Yeah,
did you
I
just say that?"
I kind of cringed myself after saying them. I'm like, oh no, this was
Me
a
and
horrible
Nurgle were
mistake.
in each other's. Me and Nurgle were in DMs talking about it, and we're both just like, "Oh god, did he really just say that?"
Yeah, I guess I took a bit. I was a bit too feisty with it, with some of the jokes a bit too edgy too.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
Well, it just not. It was not good. But there were. I feel like the opening statement I made was really fleshed out.
No, I like the opening statement. The opening statement was good, but like the rest of it, I'm just like, oh, jeez.
Well, and I was. This is something that Food Chefs pointed out. But like I was at a disadvantage the whole time because of the topic, which was specifically misogyny and GamerGate, and so it
Yeah.
puts me on the defensive right away.
It also might have helped if you had a chick in there.
Yeah. Well, it was a one-on-one, so but yeah, if we had like a two v two
Yeah.
or something, it might have been. But I feel like I shouldn't have to have like gender representation necessarily, because I think like the ideas
You
should speak for
shouldn't,
themselves. But
but
optically, it looks better.
yeah. You might hear me talk to my kitten a few times because despite the fact that I just got her a full ass box of toys, she wants to play with my headphone wires.
Ah, that's how cats are.
Cat. Yeah.
All right, Lisa, do you want to tell me about
But
your GamerGate experience?
so I was kind of part of it right when Gamergate got its name. Um, my whole thing was I grew up as a gamer. Like the first game I ever finished as a kid was Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. And for 8-year-old me, that ending blew my freaking mind. And I won't spoil it even though the game's old as balls, but like just I'm thinking, holy crap, what? And I've been playing video games ever since, and I'm 37 now, so I'm still playing video games all the time. Um, so seeing the whole thing of gamers are all evil misogynistic men or straight men being a bisexual woman, I'm like, that's not right. So I kind of started paying attention to things, and I didn't like what I was seeing. I didn't like the viewpoint that these people had of gamers. I'm like, okay, you know what, I don't fit their narrative, maybe they'll listen to me. And so started speaking up a little bit about it. I was completely wrong about them listening to me. I got called a sock puppet by them. I got called quite a few names by them. And it just made me go, okay, yeah, I think I know which side I'm going to stick with. You know, for the most part, granted, there are outliers in every community, but for the most part, I felt like the pro Gamergate people respected me. They listened to me. I made friends with people who I'm still friends with now to this day. So that was my whole experience on it.
Well, that's
And I did
awesome.
some art for it
Well, you've talked about possibly doing something coming up. Do you want to talk about that on air?
too. So for the I have been saying for a number of years now, and Nurgle, if he's in chat, he can back me up, that while Gamergate was a good experience for me personally, it needs to die. And so for Goretober next year, I'm thinking about drawing a zombie Vivian James. and calling it, just let me fucking die already.
You'll have to send that to me when you
So
make it, for sure.
it's gonna be next year, but yeah, absolutely.
So these people were saying that gamers are all like straight white men. Where were you getting that impression that that's what they believed?
Well, I mean, a lot of them are saying this on Twitter. They were saying it in their Gamers Are Dead articles. Like, just so many of these gaming publications that at one point I would have looked at and gone, okay, you know what? I could trust your opinion on video games and what I should and shouldn't play. But, seeing them completely degrade my experience as a female gamer, it was irritating, to put it mildly. It was very irritating.
So you got involved with GamerGate like shortly after the hashtag blew up with the
Hmm.
Gamers Are Dead articles and stuff.
Yep. Yep. I believe it was called the conspiracy first when I first kind of started paying attention to it, because I remember I was looking at videos about it and I saw, well, now known as Mr. Mediker, at the time he was Internet Aristocrat. Um, and his video about it. I'm like, huh. And I remember hearing about Monday Matt's video and that whole thing. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I think I was still kind of looking into it right when Gamergate got its actual name. I hadn't spoken up yet. I was doing research about it because that's what I tend to do with things. I'm an insomniac. I have researched some weird shit in the middle of the night, and I still do. I'll admit, but started researching it, and then it got its name, and that's when I'm just like, okay, you know what? Now that I know a little more about it and it has an actual name, I think I'm going to make a video about it, and it's private now. But at the time, I hadn't seen any other females talking about Gamergate, so I posted a video just like, hey, here's my idea, here's my perspective on it. I need to rewatch that thing at some point and see if I still, pretty sure I'd still have a lot of the same points of view I did at the time, but
Well, it's
just watch it for old, like I guess.
it's interesting that you like knew about this before like it really blew up into this massive thing, because I know that some of the people who are against Gamergate say that look, before Gamergate, when you had this conspiracy drama going on, like there was like also like some people did care about ethics and cared about like the legitimate controversies, but there were also people who were just like trying to farm drama views off of this, and like also just kind of some people were like probably were like legit harassers on like the 4chan IRC and stuff.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, no doubt about that. Well, I mean, I've kind of been on 4chan on and off since the early 2010s. Actually, no, earlier than that. I remember going to 4chan in like 2007. So, yeah.
Well, what's it like being a part of that Chan culture?
I saw some shit that I still wish I had never seen. um, the anonymity definitely made people a lot more willing to say things that they wouldn't normally say. Um, but at the same time, just it's and it's I'm trying to think of a way to say this where it won't be misconstrued, because there have been some god awful communities that have come from 4chan. But there's been some good ones too, I think. Rallying for good causes, like with the whole fine young capitalist thing. That was one of the instances where a bunch of people who they didn't have to worry about, their girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever seeing their posts and putting it back to them. They could just go, hey, you know what? Fuck this.
Well, it's interesting you talk about like the good, because like some people would say that Gamergate was part of the bad that came out of 4chan. Though obviously it wasn't just 4chan involved; it was a bunch of different communities. But
No. I mean, we got banned off of 4chan, so. Which, you know, I found that was hilarious when that happened.
Why do you think you got banned from 4chan? The GamerGate discussion.
Mm, I mean, there are so many theories out there. As far as a definite, no idea. Um, I think it could be because 4chan already had such a negative view in the eyes of the public that Moot was just like, okay, I don't need another shit show over here. So I think that might have had something to do with it. I could be completely wrong, but that's just me. That's just my theory. I don't know. I know there were people going around going, oh, he's, you know, dating some anti-gamer or whatever. He's in with that crowd. I don't know, honestly. There could be 1,000 different reasons why he decided to ban GamerGate, but regardless of reason, he did. That's just part of the history.
While we're still in like the sort of prehistory era, do you want to talk about how it seems like some of the YouTubers, and maybe this was because of the blog post itself that made the allegation about Mr. Grayson and Miss Quinn, um, but some of the YouTubers used this five guys, burgers and fries language to describe the situation. Do you think that was sexist?
I remember that. Yes and no. I say yes because, I mean, you have a lot of the viewpoint of, oh, if a chick sleeps with a bunch of guys, that makes her a slut or whatever. But if a guy sleeps with a bunch of chicks, they're like, yeah, go, dude. But at the same time, I've seen so many jokes made about similar jokes made about guys. So, you know, it could be it. mm,
Do you think that that sort of slut shaming attitude was pretty prevalent in Gamergate, or was this a pretty fringe phenomenon?
I wouldn't say it's fringe. I'd be lying if I said I didn't see instances of slut shaming. My whole thing was I don't care how many guys she sleeps with. She can sleep with an entire football team for all I fucking care. What she does is her business. The fact that it seemed to influence people's opinion of the game, or more like the media coming out about the game, that was my issue. I don't care how many people she slept with personally. It's the fact that she seemed to use that to garner favorable reviews.
Well,
That's my problem.
no one reviewed her game though.
I saw a couple out there. Maybe not the big companies
Not
that, but
Nathan
they,
Grayson
or
though.
maybe not the big guys, but no, but he mentioned her
Yeah, he promoted her
in a
game
positive
over
way.
over 49 other
Mm-hmm.
games. But the
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Grayson did also have like a separate controversy with Robin or Not where he reviewed Sound Self.
That sounds familiar, but it's been so fucking long.
It has indeed been almost a decade. A
And I
decade in
was
like
in my
11
late
months.
20s. I was in my late 20s when Gamergate happened. I'm 37.
Yeah,
Holy
I
fuck, I
was in
feel
my early
old.
20s. You know, I was a spring chicken and now I'm 30 years old. I'm still
I was
talking
kind of
about
amazed to
this.
find I was amazed to find a few people that were actually older than me. Like when Nurgle told me that he was a few years older than me, I was actually kind of surprised.
Yeah, we had a pretty diverse crowd. I mean, we had a
Yeah,
lot of
we
women
did.
involved. We had a lot of minorities involved. We had a lot of people of different age groups too. Like we had people who were like in high
Hmm.
school, and then we also had people who were 40,
I
50 years
remember
old.
that. I remember that. I was like, a kid, are you sure you know what you're talking about here? No offense, but I mean,
Well, yeah, there were
I don't
a couple of times where it's like, oh, this person's pro gamer gay. It's like, oh, they're 16 or 17. It's like, okay.
know. It's like, kid, you haven't lived life yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, if you want to put your opinion out there, I think that's fine. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I run like an adult only community now. I don't I well, I mean, not that I interacted with the kids back then either, but um,
Right.
But yeah, it's very much when I run like an adult only type of space. Plus, it's politics where I'm operating now, so kids don't really usually care about that.
They really shouldn't. Honestly, I mean, I've kind of come to not care much for politics myself, but that's just me. Honestly, I never, even during Gamergate, I never really cared about the politics. I didn't care which side you were on, really. Like, hey, if you're willing to be cool and talk to me, I'm willing to be cool and talk to you. And that was an opinion that I've had even before the days of Gamergate. Is like I'm more than I actually love talking to people with a variety of different opinions, because even if I walk away from that conversation and my mind hasn't changed, I at least learned something, even if it's just what led you to believe the way you do. And I see that as a win personally.
Because this thing that we participated in, and we worked together quite a bit back then, but because of
Hmm.
this thing, it's like everyone has like there's no official end date to Gamergate, and maybe not even like an official start date. But like in the chat, someone is saying, to me, Gamergate ended in 2019, whereas like I felt like in like 2017 or I don't know when exactly, but like it seemed like I was like the last person to
2016
care
for
about
me, I
this.
think.
Like what happened in 2019?
2016 for me.
2015?
2016.
Oh, okay, yeah, 2016. I mean, I still talked about it a little bit after that, but like I was transitioning away towards like other stuff, like 2017ish.
Yeah, Nerdle Stream kind of stopped really talking a whole lot about Gamergate at that point. We still talked about, there was the whole Comic Gate thing that happened, and oh man, my brief experience with Gamergate was not a positive one, and the guy that we brought on that was part of Comicsgate actually wound up getting kicked from Nerdle server because he was very disrespectful towards me.
During
So yeah,
Comicsgate wasn't a good experience, or Gamergate, or
mm,
both.
Comicsgate wasn't. I didn't. Granted, I didn't have a lot of experience with Comicsgate, but the few people that I've met that were part of it, nah, they were like some of they. To me, it felt like they took the worst aspects of Gamergate, of some of Gamergate, I should say, and kind of ran with it.
I've heard from other
I'm like,
people. Oh, God.
oh no, it's just like, you know, these guys seemed. Now, granted, I'm not saying the whole Comicsgate movement was like this, but the few people that I met that were part of it were very actually misogynistic towards me. They were like, I happened to the call and they're like, why is this chick here? It's like, I've been part of the stream for years. Who the fuck are you? And he made
Wow.
a couple of gendered comments toward me, and Nerd was finally just like, you know what? Nah, you're not going to disrespect my friend. Get the fuck out.
Well, good for Nurgle. Based Nurgle.
No, Nerd was awesome.
Yeah, he is.
There's a reason why he and I are still friends all these years later. If he's doing one of his Mortal Kombat streams, I'll hang out and chat and just draw and watch.
Yeah, I heard. I obviously was aware of Comicsgate at the time, and like in the beginning, like I think that like obviously people pushing back on like the censorship stuff with change the cover. I'm very like sympathetic with pushing back against that.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
from what I've heard from other people, they're like, yeah, these guys are like legit like far right or like legit like misogynistic or sexist.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that was
Mm-hmm.
everybody because like I did know like I think
No, of course.
Micah Curtis was involved, and I don't know if he
Yeah,
was
Mike
like that.
Curtis is cool.
Yeah.
From everything I've heard, he seems like a cool dude. But like I said, just because a couple of the people were doesn't mean the entire movement was. And you could say the same thing about Gamergate, because let's be honest, we had some people kind of attaching themselves to it that were probably not happy to have people like me in there.
Yeah, or people like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's there were definitely. Well, do you want to talk about what happened with GG Revolt?
I've blocked a lot of that from my mind. And there's probably a good reason. um, that's also a name I haven't heard in a really long time. Is GG Revolt. Um, yeah, I can't really say a whole lot about it because, like I said, I blocked it from my mind.
That's probably for the best. Like I'm not sure.
Probably for the best, yeah.
Paulo was saying that
Now that I'm actually thinking about it, I'm like,
Paulo. I was talking with Game Diviner. Do you remember him?
yeah, oh yeah. I know. I still talk to Carbine, and he talks about Game Diviner a lot. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Carbine. I'm interviewing him coming up.
Oh yeah, he told me he was going to be a part of this.
Yeah, he was
I
telling
know
me he's
Leon
like,
said he
yeah,
was going to
GG
be a part of it
Revolt.
too.
He's like, I appreciated that they brought an alternative perspective. Where I'm like, anything that good that came from like the GG Revolt thing, like anything that good came from that was like so significantly outweighed by like the massive shit pile
Yeah.
of like actual bad actors and
Like,
bad
look,
shit that like no.
I can appreciate a group that has a different take, like I said earlier, but there are some groups that you can't. You can't. And I think GG Revolt, now that I'm thinking more of it, and I don't want to, but I'm
Sorry,
thinking of
we'll
it
move
now.
on.
You know, yeah, that was the bad far outweighed the good.
Yeah, and I feel like we got blamed for the stuff that they did. We know we did. I know we did.
We
I did a
did.
video on the time. We got blamed
Oh,
for the stuff
I
they
know
did,
for
but we'll
a
move
fact
on.
we did.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
All right. So, for you personally, oh, you said you were a gamer. Do you want to talk about that? What does
Hmm.
that word mean to you?
For me, it's just a person who loves video games. Nothing more, nothing less. You like video games, you're willing to spend money on them as a hobby, you're willing to waste hours of your life playing video games, you're a gamer.
Is that
That's the long and short of it.
is not a gendered term for you at all?
Nope. Nope. You can be male, female, trans, whatever. You could be any race, any age, any nationality, anything. If you enjoy video games, if you enjoy playing video games and discussing them, you're a gamer. And it's become so much more accepted than it was when I was a kid. See, I mentioned this before you started stream. I grew up in Georgia. And I grew up in a redneck area in Georgia. So being a girl as a kid in the 90s and being into video games, you know, I got made fun of a lot. And, in high school, I remember we come back from summer vacation and all these kids are talking about all the cool shit they did. Oh, Lisa, what did you do on summer vacation? I stayed in my room and played my Nintendo 64. That's basically all I did. And I slept. That was about it. And I got made fun of for it. Nowadays, you can say something like, oh, yeah, I spent so many hours playing, yeah, Elden Ring. And no one's bats an eye. You don't get made fun of for it. You're just like, oh, okay, cool. That's awesome. Is it fun? So, gamer isn't gender to me. It is a person that enjoys video games. That's it.
You've talked about the gamers are dead articles. You viewed this as an attack on the gamer identity, but in a specific way too, right? In the way that
Yeah.
they were trying to say that gamers are these things that they aren't.
Yep. I have heard, oh, they're incels. Well, this is before incel became a big term, but like they're all virgins living in their parents' basement. And I'm just like, well, my parents are dead, so there goes that. I'm a chick. I'm a bisexual chick. And I love video games. So you're wrong. Objectively, you are wrong. And they didn't like hearing that for some reason.
Could you also interpret those articles as saying that this is what other people, society views gamers as, And because of this negative baggage that quote unquote society has put on gamers, that we need to move away from the term and just call ourselves people who play games or something instead of gamer.
Mm, I mean, I don't know if I thought about it like that. It was just for me, I was just like, yeah, you have this view on, well, maybe society as a whole. That could be something to do with it. Because I'm thinking in modern times, but a lot has changed since 2014. So maybe I know games like Pokemon made video games really start kind of coming up in popularity.
Yeah, I
But
oh sorry, go ahead.
no, you're fine. A lot of people forget that, yeah, gamer video games have been around for a while, but it can sometimes take people a really, really, really unbelievably long time to warm up to things. So, yeah, maybe society's view had something to do with those articles. I don't know. It's possible.
But it seems to me too that there might be some quote unquote negative aspects of being a gamer. I think that's probably fair to say. I think that there are people on Call of Duty voice channels who have a proclivity towards sexism and racism probably. Like that's probably
Yeah.
some truth in
I
that for
got
sure.
yeah. Yeah, no, that is true. I got called a bitch one time by a 14-year-old because we were playing Call of Duty. I think it was Black Ops 2, and I got the final kill against him. And so, to anyone who doesn't know, if you get the final kill in Call of Duty for a match, everyone can see, the final kill cam. And all you see is a tiger striped sniper rifle with a heart in the middle of it, shooting him. And we get to the lobby, and this kid is calling me every name under the sun. And I'm just laughing. So
Did you
yeah, there are some people that they probably shouldn't be playing online games, but you know, that's for a lot of these kids, and majority of them are kids, let's be honest. They're just trying to be edgy. But that doesn't change the fact that they probably shouldn't be playing games like that. That's on their parents though.
was gaming as a woman and as a girl growing up, was this a hobby that you kind of felt excluded from?
Not excluded from. Uh like I said, Redneck Georgia, video games weren't really a huge thing. Like I remember we had these neighbors move in one year, and I found out that the kid also had a Game Boy and one of those link cables, and I was just excited because holy crap, someone else who plays video games. A lot of gamers that I met as a kid, they hung out at the local comic shop. They never excluded me. I would play games like the original Darkstalkers and shit on the arcade cabinets with them, and it was pretty good. And they were actually very respectful of me. They're like, "All right, this kid knows what she's doing." But I never felt excluded from gaming overall. It was more like the attitude of the people around me who didn't really get it.
And I sort of feel that even though there were obviously there might be some cultural issues or in society or with gaming that we can work on and improve. I feel like you shouldn't throw the baby out the bathwater because gamer is an identity that a lot of us have chosen to have, men and
Hmm.
women, and there's a lot of good in that. There's a lot of people having camaraderie and a shared interest and a shared hobby,
Oh yeah.
and they're they have this similar experience in life to some extent. And that's something you can connect and bond with other people over. I think that's a good thing. And if there's cultural things that are bad, we can address those without saying gamers are over.
Hmm. Right. I mean, and it's like you said, yeah, there are some shitty people who call themselves gamers, but I mean, just because you have a couple of bad apples doesn't mean everyone who identifies as a gamer is a negative person.
Right, every community has bad. Look at Hollywood, right? How people have the casting couch and Harvey Weinstein and all that. Like nobody would say that.
Mm,
Like, oh,
yeah.
anyone who makes movies is evil. You wouldn't say that.
It's like, no, no. Just because there's a couple of assholes doesn't mean everyone.
Well,
Sorry if you hear me talking in the background. My boyfriend's playing Phasmophobia.
oh no, you're fine.
Speaking of.
So have you experienced a lot of sexism though in gaming, not just in real life, but on the internet? You mentioned that the 14-year-old person.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think a lot of these kids really understand what they're saying. They're doing it because, oh hey, I'm gonna, I want to piss people off because it's funny. I usually just laugh it off, and they don't like it when I laugh at them for doing that. So, honestly, I experienced a lot more sexism from the anti-GamerGate side, if we're gonna be completely fucking honest. Like, and this is something I've said repeatedly, is that, yeah, I'm looking at all of these guys and they're saying, oh, there's all misogynists over there. I'm like, really? Because the guys on this side have been treating me really well. They've been very respectful. While people on your side have been saying that I don't exist as a woman, that I'm a sock puppet. Well, I'm a pretty realistic looking sock puppet, I think. Um, yeah, I got a few of them insulted my appearance. I had a few call me like a pick me. Like, oh, you're just doing it to be popular with guys. Like, I could care less what what a bunch of dudes have to think about me. Number one, I'm in a relationship already. You know, the same. Funny enough, the same guy that I was with during the GamerGate.
Yeah.
Almost 15 years now. So, I could care less what other dudes in this community think of me, but it's I got so many insults from them that I had to learn not to let it get to me.
Was it
I
difficult?
experienced a hell of a.
Was it difficult for you to have these people deny your existence because you disagreed with them on this?
At first, I kind of learned to deal with it over time, but at first it was like, wow, what the you're throwing all these insults at me, and I'm just here. I exist, and apparently that pisses you off. I I didn't understand, and honestly, I still don't. But I gave up trying,
Were you involved with?
and
Good.
sorry, just having some of the friends that I made through GamerGate really helped. Yeah, because I knew they had my back. Like, one of the guys insulted my appearance. I remember there was a stream going on, and Nurgle was in it, and he heard about it. And while on stream, he starts just tweeting insults at the guy. And I'm like, "Mhm. That was really sweet. Thank you." Knowing that I had fellow gamers on my side kind of helped help make it a little easier.
Yeah, we always had each other's backs back then.
Mm-hmm.
We had to.
Yeah, we definitely had to, because otherwise, they would have picked us apart and ripped us open.
You and I have a somewhat similar experience with the GG streaming community. We both were participants in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I know so most of it, most like probably like 90% of the stuff we did. Or at least for me, I don't know as much if it applies to you, but like a lot of it was like just discussions with people. But we also had some moments where we would both engage with, and there was a couple other people too who would as well, with debating anti-Gamergate people.
Yep, I remember those days. Some, actually, you know what? The ones that were willing to come on, I actually appreciated, because at least they were willing to have a conversation with us. Is more than I could say for a lot of the other anti-gamer gators. And even if I walked away disagreeing with them, I still appreciated the fact that, they took time out of their day to come and talk to someone on the opposite side. And that's not something you saw a lot then, and it's not something you see a lot now. And I think it definitely needs to happen a lot more often.
Yeah, no, I I agree. I actually really am grateful that they, even if we disagreed strongly on everything, that like they were willing to come on and have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have?
Exactly. And I walked away learning, like I said, I part of the reason I love having these conversations is I learn something new, even if it's just another person's life experiences and what led them to believe the way that they do. You know, I see it as a win. So I always enjoyed those. Well, there was one, let me say, that uh, helicopter.
Oh
You remember
boy,
that name.
helicopter guy.
We thought we were all convinced the entire debate that he was a troll. And then we start playing video games with him after the stream, and he's still going. And Neuro's like, "Dude, the stream's over. You can cut the act." And I'm just like, "I don't think it's an act. I think
No,
he's really let her."
he was a true believer. I actually like helicopter guy. I thought he was the most
He was
interesting
very
one
interesting.
who we would debate with. I think.
Uh, that's a way of putting it. Yeah, he was interesting. You know what? Sometimes I think about him and wonder whatever happened to him.
I wish I want to get back in touch with him. I really do.
I know, right? Be like, dude, remember me? I'm that weird chick from that stream you came on.
Well, it was you, me. This was on Koprulu Radio, that podcast I used to run.
Nurgle
Sorry,
was
me and Gladiator
there.
Skull both ran together. But
Nurgle, I remember Nurgle was there. I remember Leon was there.
Sargon was
Um,
there. Well, for one of them, we debated
I
helicopter guy like 20 times. But
I remember the stream was that was a wild night.
dude, helicopter guy was like, Sargon, your arguments are bullshit. Netscape, he's making the better arguments here. It's like, well,
I just
thanks, I
remember
think.
having to mute. I just remember having to mute because I couldn't stop. I'm like, okay, if I just burst out laughing, I'm gonna come across as really rude. So I just muted and just started laughing hysterically at that. I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
But you have to give helicopter guy props because like it seems like he like actually prepared and shit. Like he
He
knew what
did.
was happening. I don't know if he prepared or if he was just like naturally plugged in because he was on Reddit talking about it all the time. Because like on Reddit, he was like one of the most prolific debate bros
I
on
know.
Reddit.
Oh
So
man.
I guess maybe he was familiar with like all the intricacies of like the ins and so like a lot of the anti-Gamergate people are like, oh yeah, Gamergate bad. Like what do you know about it? And they're like, well, you're just a bunch of sexists. It's like, oh,
Uh,
but like he'd be like, okay,
the,
let's get into the weeds about whether or not this specific instance of social media, social justice advocacy is a form of
yep.
censorship. It's like he'd jump into the weeds real fast. It's like, holy cow! Like let's
Oh
have a
yeah.
discussion.
I respected the hell. You know what? As hilarious and as nutty as he was, I respected the hell out of him for that because he came into this actually knowing what the hell he was talking about. So I respected him for that. Still, still fucking one of the craziest debate slash interviews I've ever been a part of. But it was, you know, I could still respect that he actually did his research.
Yeah, and I guess it was like it's so funny because I recognize a lot of myself in him too because I am also like that
Okay,
debate.
you're gonna have to explain this.
I also have like that debate bro personality where I'm like, okay, let's jump in and like have like a 6 hour debate on something.
Mm,
Like I'm very much
yeah,
like
you're
that.
not wrong.
You know.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Too much so sometimes, in fact. It kind of I need to maybe work on that a
Yeah,
bit. But
yeah, it might be good.
thanks. But I really enjoy it
Hey,
too,
you know
so
what? I'm gonna. Hey, if you want to get help for whatever, I encourage that.
no, I don't think
Self
it's like an
improvement
issue.
is always a good
I
thing.
think that I'm operating in a space now, like the political streaming space, where like that's the expectation and that's like normal. So, be,
Yeah,
with like
I can.
Destiny and people like that. Anyway,
Destiny.
uh,
No, Destiny.
he inspired me to come back into the space. By the way,
Really?
yeah,
That is unexpected, but okay.
yeah.
You know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I can see that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can see that.
Anyway, obviously a lot of people, not just you, but tons of people were called sock puppets. A lot of women who supported GamerGate. Um, did you participate in Not Your Shield?
A little bit. A little bit. Interview. We had a few people on that were part of it. Nino, one of the guys that created the Not Your Shield hashtag, we actually had him on once. I still have a clip. It's privated, but I have a clip from a stream where he was talking about Revolution 60, and he had me in tears. I was laughing so hard because he was talking about how it was like how Brianna Wu was like the Shakespeare of game devs, and I'm just like, oh my fucking god, dude.
Well, Brianna Wu's probably watching right now, actually.
Brianna,
I'm operating in the same space as her in the politics stuff, and so she's like aware of
I
the
do,
project. I even reached out to
I,
her, talked to her.
I do want to say, I saw the Tim Pool debate she did. She lost a lot of weight. She looks good. All jokes aside, she look, she she looks good.
Did you see the? You saw the quote unquote debate with Hatman, where he spoke like two words
Yeah,
the whole time.
yeah. Well, I saw some of it. It just got a bit painful for me after a few, and I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh god, I just remember looking off to the side. Oh shit, my cat just threw up. Let me go take care of that. And then I kept finding excuses to not come back to.
Well, it was
Nothing,
so bad. I'm
nothing
sorry.
against
It was
Brianna,
so. I
but
mean, like you know what?
it
Hey, look.
was.
If she wants to do more political stuff in this space, good for her. But but I saw like the first like maybe like third of it. It's like Alex only spoke like twice. It's like what's going on?
Yeah,
Like what? And of course that's not Rihanna's fault. That's like Tim Pool's fault. Like he's the moderator of the debate, and he didn't.
exactly.
He should have. And also it's Alex's fault too a little bit. Like I like Alex the Hat Man. We get along good.
I haven't spoken to Batman in so long.
Yeah, we talk regularly. So like he knows my opinion. It's my public position, my private position are one and the same. Which is like he also needs
Right.
to be more proactive and speak up. He maybe he felt like he had nothing to add, but like he should have jumped in there a little bit too. But
Yeah.
also the
And
moderator, come on.
a lot of people want to blame Brianna Wu for this, and I'm just like, I can't entirely blame her. It was supposed to be a debate, and it's up to the main person running the debate to make sure that both sides are able to get their points in.
Yeah.
So I don't want to place all of the blame on her.
No, and also like it's maybe they had different expectations because I think Tim Pool called it a debate. But then Brianna Wu treated it like an interview, and they went way off topic like the entire time. Her and Tim by themselves, with Alex just sort of like sitting there quiet. So maybe they had different expectations
Yeah,
going in. I don't know.
it's possible. It's definitely possible. I mean, I've seen some people try to say, "Oh, this is a debate," but it's really not. It's like, well, maybe don't use the term debate. But yeah, no, it was painful, but I thought it was kind of cool that she was willing to actually sit with someone from that was very much on the pro Gamergate side and actually, at the very least, sit in the same room with them.
Yeah, no,
I
props to
have to
her.
give her some credit for that.
No,
Yeah,
for
I have
sure.
to give her some credit for that. And I know there's going to be a lot of Gamergaters who are going to not be happy with that opinion, but, whatever. It's my opinion, then.
Well, that's actually
You're
I
free
think.
to disagree.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? Fuck. If they disagree, that's fine. But they're entitled to their opinion, I guess. But I
Exactly.
respect people who are willing to reach across the aisle. And this was actually their second conversation. Remember, they actually talked during GamerGate.
Really?
Like, yeah, they actually had it was completely unrelated to GG, but they had a whole live stream where they talked about Revolution 60.
I don't remember that.
It's still on Hatman's channel.
I might have to go. Oh god. Oh god, I might have to go watch that.
Well, unfortunately, I think a lot of people were really cool with this happened. Like they were like willing to hear him out, but the GG Revolt people were like really going after him. They spread fake rumors about Hatman for like months. It was not good
I heard
actually.
about
They
that.
really they actually like
I heard about that.
yeah.
Going back to them, that
Yeah.
was actually kind of part of the reason that I left GamerGate, because a lot of the GG Revolt types, the political grifters started coming in, and I started to feel a change, and I didn't like the change. I'm like, well, these guys are going to run it into the ground. I felt like, hey, these guys are going to run it into the ground, and they helped run it into the ground. I wasn't entirely wrong there.
No, no, you
Just
weren't.
looking at some of the shit that GG Revolt was pulling after I left, and I'm just like, man, I'm glad I left when we did. And I told Nurgle this. I'm like, man, I am so glad we left when we did. He's like, yeah, no, it's turning into a shit show.
When I took the opposite approach, I saw these people. I recognized them as like, dude, these guys are legit evil. We have to stand up and defeat them. So I was very much on the
Mm-hmm.
destroy GG Revolt side rather than the fuck it, let's just move on. But a lot of people were on the fuck it, let's just move on camp too.
I remember hearing like, oh, there's a few whispers here and there on Twitter of, oh, there's going to be a Gamergate Summer War, and I'm just like, oh, fuck. I want no part of
Yeah,
this.
they weren't even that many
I'm
people.
out.
They were just like super crazy and like always
Loud
online, terminally
and
online
loud.
people. Loud.
Terminally online and loud,
Yeah.
which is a horrible conversation, which is a horrible combination when you have an attitude like the one that the GG Revolt people did. I'm starting to remember why I blocked them out of my
No, no,
mind.
we don't need to go back. We don't need to rehash these old
No,
memories.
it's,
Unless you
it's
want to. It could
fine.
be
It's
therapeutic. I
fine.
don't know.
It could, what? Let's just go. Fuck it. Let's just get it out. Yeah. Honestly, it's people like them that made it a lot more hostile. And it wasn't as friendly, or what's the word I'm looking for here? They weren't as open minded as a lot of the people I met in the early days of Gamergate. They had a very us versus them mentality, which I think gets no one anywhere. I hate that mentality because if all you're going to do is fight, then what are you really achieving? You're too busy fighting to actually sit and talk and make legitimate, lasting change.
Yeah, and they, you know, it's it's just they were like all the things that the media claimed that we were. But there were,
Mm-hmm.
but there were 60 or something of them on their, GG Revolt at its height was like 60 people I think on its forum, and
Yeah,
maybe a few other like hangers on Twitter in that community, but like it was not like some big thing. Like you can't define an entire movement based on like this small subset of people that like most of us wanted nothing to do with and very much were like condemned.
exactly. No, it's like there were a few times where I would see people who were into Gamergate would go, "Oh, this GG Revolve, they're a bunch of assholes." I'm like, you know what? I agree with you actually. What do you know? That is, you know what? If there is any positive to GG Revolt, it's that it got a lot of the old school Gamergaters and a lot of the anti Gamergaters to actually kind of look at each other and go, "No, fuck these guys."
Do you think that the conversation?
Actually,
Oh, good.
no, I was just gonna say it actually kind of brought us together for a minute and go, "Yeah, nah, nah."
Isn't this what the conversation should have been? Where it should have been like, hey, look, let's come together and talk. And like, oh, look, there's some crazy people. You got the Zack Attack doxers. We've got the fucking GG Revolt
Oh
doxers.
god,
Like, none of us want anything to do with these crazy people. Let's just fucking work
exactly.
together and build a better gaming industry and a better hobby for everybody. That's an inclusive hobby for everybody. That has creative
Yes,
freedom for everybody, for game developers to make whatever they
yes,
want, and that also makes reforms in games journalism and these websites and creates a positive idea of what gamers should be rather than this adversarial
exactly.
approach that I feel
Yes,
was done by extremes on both sides, but I think also by like the games press themselves and by the opposition to GamerGate framing things in such a dishonest way. I feel
Yeah, yeah, I can agree with that.
like there would be some people like there would probably be some people pro GamerGate who would like be like, oh no, fuck, we shouldn't talk to them or whatever. But like that's a very small minority.
Why?
I
No,
feel.
okay. Every time someone asks, every time, the few times in the early days that I heard someone say that, I just go, why not? I never got an answer other than, oh, it's not like they'd listen to us anyway. I'm like, well, I mean, there's a few who've said they'd be willing to. Not all game journalists are bad. There are a few ones, a few good ones,
Well,
you know?
what does good games journalism look like to you?
Something more like the video game magazines I read as a kid. Like, they play the game, they give an honest review. If they happen to be friends with someone who made the game, they go, hey, maybe I shouldn't write about it because my friend is a, voice actor in the game, or they did the pixel art or whatever. Let someone else review it because I'll be biased. Um, I think a good chunk of the gaming websites that kind of popped up after GamerGate started, like Game Nosh and whatnot. Yeah, I think they still do pretty good work. Niche Gamer, sites like that. But I think just like I don't think the whole ethics and journalism thing. All these years later, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it's just a gaming thing. I think it's just in general. To bring up something outside of GamerGate that's a bit more recent, the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. I was noticing, like, even after Johnny Depp won, there were so many news sites that were painting a much more dishonest picture of some of the stuff that happened. And people started noticing that. And they're like, why is this news site lying to us? And I'm just sitting there like, you're just not realizing that? Really? It took this for you to realize that?
Have you?
I think it's just journalism in general has become very dishonest. Not just gaming, not just political, just in general.
Has it always been this way and you're just noticing it, or is it getting worse?
Mm, I think it might be getting worse. Um, no, I do want to say that not all journalists are like this. I actually have someone I see as one of my best friends is in school for journalism right now, so I've been learning a bit about things from him. But you have a lot of sites that were once reputable, like CNN or whatever, latching on to. Let's be blunt here, Trump. It's like the guy could sneeze in a way they don't like, and they have a whole article about him. But then you have sites like Fox News who are also trying to, I feel, in my opinion at least, promote this sense of back to the us versus them thing. Instead of just talking about the news and what's going on, they have to put their own spin on it. And I have seen news sites from from all sides politically, just do some serious mental gymnastics to make something look worse than it is. And it's it's causing a lot of division. So that's why I think that it's getting worse.
I know we've talked a little bit about like journalism as a whole, but when it comes to these gaming sites in particular, why wouldn't they just say, "Hey, look, we made a couple mistakes. We're gonna slap a couple people on the wrist. We're gonna implement some basic reforms here to make things better, and then like you guys can go fuck off because we've why not just respond by like just implementing some basic reforms or like just saying, "Hey, look, we made mistakes." Right? Why go the gamers are dead route?
Because something about humanity in general, and this has been a thing long before the people, and yet long before the internet. People don't like admitting when they're wrong. And when you're online, especially when you're on a site like Kotaku, you have a lot of people, you have a lot of eyes on you. So you're afraid of what could happen if you admit that you were wrong about something. So instead of doing that and potentially looking bad in the eyes of your viewership, you double down. Because in that moment, all you can think is, all of these people are watching me. They could be judging me. I can't admit that I fucked up.
Yeah,
So,
that's all too common, unfortunately. Not just in journalism, but like all areas of life. People are just
mm-hmm.
afraid. Were there any reforms that you would? Oh, I lost your video.
I turned my camera off. No, I
Okay,
turned my
yeah, that's
camera
fine.
off.
Okay, I'll go ahead and turn on non-video participants if I can. Okay. What kind of reforms would you like to see happen?
More honesty. You know, if you write a review or if you talk about a game in a positive light, at the very least, a simple, hey, by the way, I'm friends with someone that worked on this. You know, if you're going to be biased, at least let us know you're being biased. So we can, take that information and react to it accordingly. I think that's just the main thing is honesty. And also, don't go demonize a whole group of people just because a couple of them are assholes.
So if you were the editor-in-chief of one of these websites, you've got a couple employees who were accused of ethical violations, ethical misconduct. You seem, you look into it a little bit. It seems like okay, maybe they actually did fuck up here. What do you do?
Well, what I would do, first off, I would take down the articles. I would post an editorial like, hey, just so you know, this happened. This was not acceptable behavior. They are being dealt with. And hopefully we could do better in the future. I'd be honest, like, hey, you know what? We fucked up. And I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but we're only human. And that's the thing. If these journalists had admitted that they fucked up, I don't think I would be as irritated with them as I was. But instead, they doubled down, and the whole Gamers are Dead thing happened. When all of this could have been avoided if they had just gone, you know what? We messed up. We're sorry. We'll do what we can to correct the issue. So much of this could have been avoided.
Now, obviously, a lot of games journalism has been supplanted to some degree by video and streaming and things like this. But do you think that
Mm-hmm.
there's still a role for good games journalism in text-based form?
I think so. I mean, sometimes you just want to read. Well, though that's me. Not everyone likes to read, but sometimes I'm just like, I've heard about this game on YouTube and I'm kind of curious about it, so I'll look it up. I'll read some articles about it. So, yeah, I think there's still a place for it. If for no other reason than insomnia driven research. I think there will always be a place for it.
Now, unlike me, you were actually involved in GamerGate in 2014. So, do you remember
Mm-hmm.
the Game Journal Pros list?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. The whole list that came out.
Were you
Oh man.
Did you have any thoughts on this? Were you surprised that they were sort of talking to each other behind the scenes across websites, competing websites?
Kind of. Um I think I was more surprised that there's just this whole idea of refusing to call each other out on their shitty behavior. Yeah, these people who were supposedly friends. Because if my friends are messing up, I'm gonna tell them. I'd be like, hey, yeah, nah, that was not a good thing. But in some cases, I got the impression that they didn't fully agree, but they just kind of went along with it.
It's easier to go with the flow than risk being an outcast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, especially since I guess at that point there was this idea that you shouldn't give the GamerGaters an inch.
And yet they continuously did so. That was the funny thing.
Do you remember SPJ Airplay?
Oh, the name sounds familiar.
Michael Koretsky with the Society of Professional Journalists hosted the conference with like Mark Sebb, Ash Scow,
Oh,
um, Christina Hoff Sommers, Lynn
oh
Walsh.
yeah, I remember now. I remember now. The moment you said Christina Hoff Sommers, I'm like, oh yeah,
The bomb
that was
threat
a
got
thing.
called in.
I remember that. And oh my god, I still think Arthur Chu has something to do with that.
Really? You think
I'm
he
gonna be
wasn't just playing around? It ends
I
tonight.
don't think so.
I I'll grant Arthur Chu charity and say that he probably didn't call in the bomb threat. That probably what he meant was that like GamerGate's going to be over after this because no one's going to care anymore. That's what I think
Oh,
he
he at
meant.
least
But
knew about it.
obviously
He at
he
least
said
knew
that like
about it.
just a few hours before the bomb threat got called in. So it's I know some people are
That
saying
definitely
it might have
makes
been him, but
suspicious. If even if he didn't do it, I think he at least knew about it.
yeah. You don't think
Yeah.
you think that he had knowledge about this and like allowed this to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I really do. Because I mean, you look at a lot of stuff about Arthur True, and he wasn't a very good person. So I just like also this is gonna come across as really mean, but I don't think he's smart enough to know to not talk about that kind of thing if he knew. This is the guy who tweeted out, I can't, paraphrasing here, I'm happy that I can't sexually satisfy my wife, or something along those lines.
Gosh, I hope
It's
that's true
like,
because I don't feel like getting sued. For the
oh,
book.
hang on, I'll find the tweet. Hang on, I'll find a screenshot of the
No, I
tweet.
believe you. It's just we gotta be
No,
careful.
it has to be seen. You don't have to show it on stream. I'll just DM it to you.
Okay, that works. Otherwise, I'll just put
But I just
allegedly
remember
before it.
seeing that. I just remember seeing that and going, why? Why the fuck did you say that? What the fuck, dude? Why would you tweet that? There are few tweets that make me go just like stare at it for longer than necessary and go, why? What fucking possessed you to say this? This was one of those tweets.
Good
I'm
old
just
Arthur
like,
Chu.
gobsmacked.
If Arthur came to you now and
Gobsmacked.
said, "Hey, look, I want to talk about what happened during GamerGate," would you hear him out?
Sure. So, I'm like, you know what? As long as you're respectful to me, yeah, I'll be hearing it. I'll be willing to hear you out. Don't divulge in it. Don't go into name calling or anything like that. Because I guarantee you, I can come up with some more inventive names than you can.
I don't doubt that at all.
Okay, so a couple of British friends I have, I can say this to them and they won't bat an eye. But I've said this to a few Americans, and they all go, "What?" Cunt sponge is one that I like, and not many people have heard of it. But I use that on occasion just if I'm in an argument with an American just to throw them off. And it works every fucking time.
What does it mean?
And it's Nothing. It's just something I thought up one day. I'm like, I need to come up with an insult that hasn't been used a million times already.
Well,
Cunt
hey, now
sponge.
it's in a book.
Yes.
You've coined a
Yes.
term, and now it's in a book. It's a thing now.
I feel accomplished. I feel accomplished now. Great. Um, it ties snap. It ties like Lisa. Enough. Um, using a game with a few friends. I completely forgot about that.
It's good content for the
Please.
book, so we'll keep it. Unless
Hey,
you
yeah,
unless you
go
insist.
for it.
Okay.
Go for it. At least I could say, hey, you know what? My weird little phrase that I came up with at 4 o'clock in the morning one day, it made it in a book. Um, Jeez, I'm still looking for it. Oh yeah, there was the Arthur Chu documentary.
He made a documentary, or
Hi,
was it a documentary about him?
there was a documentary about him.
How? He wasn't even like that big of a person. Like why?
I
Well, I
tell
guess he was big in
fuck.
the anti-GG community, but like, and he had a Jeopardy thing, I guess. But
I completely forgot about the documentary. Oh, oh, I just found a tweet from him from 2020 that ooh,
I wonder if he still has me
ooh.
blocked on Twitter. I'm sure he does.
Okay, this yeah, I'm just looking at screenshots right now. Dude, if he actually said this, then I might retract my willingness to talk to him.
Oh, actually, he changed his account name. What's his new? Oh, whatever. I don't
I
care that
have
much.
no idea.
I don't care that much. I really don't.
Yep.
It's not like we're gonna
Okay.
sit down and have a convo. Probably he hates our guts.
What? I mean, I don't even know what the hell he's doing anymore. I just know that he seems to defend pedophilia.
Oh, what?
So
Okay, well maybe it's best I don't have that
yeah,
conversation with him after all.
yeah,
Oh no! See now this is
yeah,
in the
maybe
book too, because it's the book's like allegedly he supports pedophilia. I don't
allegedly,
allegedly. I don't. We gotta wait. I'll feel like
according
getting
to the
sued.
tweet,
Let's move on from Arthur
according to
Chu,
the tweet.
please.
Yes, let's
So
move on from Arthur.
you said you were involved with GamerGate till 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
that's 2016 was obviously a lot of things happened in 2016 with GamerGate. It was still very active at the time, though not as much as it was.
Yeah.
Some people said that
Yeah.
GamerGate should have ended with SPJ AirPlay. Game Diviner believed that. What do you think?
I could. Yeah, I could see that. Honestly. Mainly because it was a discussion that a bunch of us had been saying we wanted to happen. And so it finally happened and I'm like, okay, cool. You know, you got a few journalists to actually sit and talk to us.
Yeah, after SPJ AirPlay, obviously it seemed like things were getting a little bit off the rails. We didn't know have a direction. It seemed as much.
Yeah, because I know I wasn't the only one who kind of like you mentioned, game diviner is like, all right, well, the conversation we've been saying that we wanted finally happened. Time to go home. Time to back it up. Let's go. But for some reason, it just a bunch of people like myself. Well, this was one of the factors. There were a few others that I'd really rather not get into, but um, one of the factors was just like, well, okay, our goal has been met. Let's moving on. But then you had some people who just couldn't let go. I swear that's not a call out.
No, I did let go. And I'm back in this space now doing this project because I think it's important, not because like I'm trying to
Yeah,
relive the GG memories. Though like it's actually been kind of useful in that account and
I mean,
interesting and
hey,
reconnecting.
yeah. I was about to say it's gotten you to actually talk to people you haven't spoken to in a while. I know for me it's been interesting because it's like There have been so many times lately where I hear a name mentioned. I'm like, oh God, I haven't heard that name. And I mean, at least in the chats on some of your streams, I've seen people that I haven't spoken to in so long and getting to catch up and whatnot. So that's been pretty great. But
Yeah, it seems like it's not like there's like a million people interested in watching this, but there are people who are interested in doing it, and they have like their own. This was a huge part of their lives. It was a huge part of our lives, you and me, and like and Lord Nurgle's life, and Captain Carbine, and like all these people that I'm interviewing and that are in the chat, like for most of them, this wasn't just like, oh yeah, like I tweeted about it once. It's like, no, this was like something we really cared about. We were passionate about. We were actively guiding the movement to some extent and like participating in it and having responsibilities. And it was with the movement, with how we interact with each other, with other people who disagree with us, how we have to maintain good optics, how we have to try and advocate for the causes that we believe in and come up with effective strategies. Like this was something that was like near and dear to our hearts. And I
mm-hmm.
think it's difficult for people who weren't in that, who have never had that kind of experience before, to relate to.
Right.
But it's useful, I think, for us to go back and be like, yeah, this was something we cared about. It was important, and like maybe it was, not the end of the world because like it's games after all. But like
Yeah.
it was a big deal to us because it's our hobby and it's something we care about, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
Right.
I don't know. It's just I'm ranting.
No, you're fine, dude. I get it.
But like it's I
This
feel like
was yeah,
good.
it was something that meant a lot to a lot of us. So yeah, I get it.
And then like it's bullshit that us, the people who were involved in this thing, we never even had our story told.
Yeah. No, we immediately were just like, called a hate campaign or whatever.
Yeah. Did you support Operation Disrespectful Nod? The email campaigns?
Mm. At the time, I did, but I think for a lot of us, we kind of forgot that these are people too. We may disagree with them. We may, in some cases, despise them. And, I think in a lot of ways we had some reasons, we had some personal reasons to. But, some of them might have had children at home that they had to feed or pets at home that they had to feed. I mean, I'm a cat mom, and, you know, I can imagine being so worried about being worried about my livelihood like that to where I wouldn't be able to afford to feed her. I think it's. I understand the reasoning behind it, even now, but you know, trying to think of how to word this. I think there could have been alternate ways for our voices to be heard.
Okay. No, that's
Yeah,
fair.
I don't think intentionally making someone's real life apart from their journalism or whatever a little more difficult. I think it might have made them resent us even more.
Do you think part of the reason? Well, so I don't know. I'll phrase this in a neutral way. Do you think that they were less likely to come to the table and talk with us because we cost them money and we're costing them potentially even their jobs and their livelihoods?
Yeah, yeah. Personally, if someone went after me, that hard, I'd probably be a lot less likely to sit down and have a conversation with them and feel like they're going to be talking in good faith.
I've asked this question to a lot of GamerGate people, and some of them say that it was that they weren't coming to the table when we were just asking nicely, and so it was better to make the games journalists lose money and the companies lose money. That way, they would be more willing to negotiate. We have leverage over them in that case.
Mm.
Do you
I
disagree?
could see that. I could see that point of view. It's like, oh, you won't listen to us any other way, so here you go. But like I said, for a lot of these people, they might have had families at home to take care of. And I don't think people that had nothing to do with this should have been punished because they happen to have a shitty family member.
Or a shitty coworker, I guess.
Yeah,
Or yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah,
in both cases, I
some of
guess.
the some some of the journalists fucked up. But that's not to say that every single employee at these gaming sites was a horrible person. They might have kept their mouths shut because they disagreed, or maybe they had a more neutral position, but were too scared to say anything. And now they're being punished for their coworkers' shitty actions.
I guess this sort of gets into what do you do with a company that's behaving unethically? Because like you could imagine many scenarios where it's like you're lying in your journalism or you're being dishonest, you're deceiving your readers. And like that's like one degree of unethical behavior. And then like there's another level where it's like
Mhm.
we're dumping the company's dumping chemicals into the water and like do we does closing down that factory or that chemical plant or whatever does that cost those people their jobs, but is it worth it? Like there's always these like weird trade-offs when it comes to like taking action against companies directly, like direct action like we did, or like the veganism stuff. Like how many if we close down all the factory farms, how many of those factory farmers are going to lose their jobs? You know,
Right. Um, that's a good question.
I think ultimately like I think the greater morality is to say that look, capitalism involves creative destruction and like you need to shut down bad things sometimes. But like I mean,
Yeah, but there's always the chance that something a lot worse could pop up in its place.
true.
And I remember having this conversation with Carbine a few months back, I think. You know, how do we know that? Yeah, let's say we did manage to shut down Kotaku and all these other sites. Some of them, since they were part of the gaming journalists, you know, chat group, they could have gotten together and they could have made a site that was so much harder on us. That was so much worse. That was so much more corrupt. Yeah, they could have made our lives a living hell if they wanted to.
Were
So,
you? Oh, good.
yes, you, yeah, sorry. It's just, yeah, you could get rid of one thing, but there's always that chance that something worse will pop up.
Doesn't adopting that sort of view can't it also put you in a place where you're like paralyzed with indecision? Like, well, I don't want to take, or paralyzed with inaction, I guess, because if you're too
Yeah,
worried about
I can
what's
see
going to
that.
come from the, like, you should pay attention to like what's going to come from the ashes of what you destroy. But
I don't think you should let it consume the idea consume you. I think it's something to take into consideration,
yeah, I agree.
but I don't think that, it should influence your actions one way or another. I just think it's something that you should at the very least think about.
Were you involved with the artistic freedom or creative freedom side of GamerGate?
Uh, if by that you mean did I do some art for GamerGate? Yeah. I did
Yeah,
a couple of Vivian
you
James
are an
portraits.
artist, true. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I did a few Vivian James portraits. Like I said earlier, I'm thinking about doing something for next year with her. She was actually a lot of fun to draw. Maybe it was, I don't normally use a bunch of bright colors in my work. Lately, I've been doing more monochrome stuff, but I've been adding some brightness here and there. So having a bright green and purple was different for me.
It is such a cool design, Vivian.
It is. Her design was really cool.
But did you
Mm,
do stuff like with like change the cover or like the Pillars of Eternity controversy, the Lionhead Studios controversy, like those sort of controversies?
uh, nothing for those. I remember there was the Christmas cards that we made one year, and I did a design for those.
Oh, so you weren't like debating people on Twitter on this or anything?
No,
Okay.
I would I'd be like, oh hey, there's an art project coming up that GamerGate's working on. I can help out, provide some art for it.
Some critics of
That
Gamer
was
oh,
that was about my extent.
some critics of Gamergate have argued that the movement was mostly or entirely right wing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, no. Actually, a lot of the people that I met early on were either completely in the center or they were left leaning. The majority of the people that I met at the beginning were left leaning, and that's where some of their anger was coming from because they're like, these are people who are on my side that I agree with on a lot of different aspects, but I feel like my own side is attacking me. And I'm more central myself. I think both sides have their positives and both sides have their shit points. But I call it, I prefer to refer to myself as politically homeless. Um, but no, I didn't see an influx of right wingers until later on.
Do you think that was mostly the same liberal and centrist people you met in the beginning becoming right wing, or do you think this was new people coming in,
It
or
happened in a it happened in a few cases. Just some people were just so disgusted with their side and the shit that they were, excusing that they were like, all right, I want nothing to do with this side. I want nothing to do with the left anymore.
yeah, I agree. I
But
think
there were
that
a lot of people that came into it.
I agree. I think that most people I think were more or less like where they were before, but some people
Yeah,
did become like radicalized right wing people. But I think that was like a pretty small number of pretty small percentage,
it
I should
wasn't
say
a
at least.
lot, but
You know,
it wasn't a lot, but I did see a few instances of it.
yeah, like Sargon actually.
Oh God,
like yeah, like
don't,
like
don't,
holy
don't,
cow.
don't get, don't get me started on someone a few months back. Someone brought up, some of Sargon's political shit, and I'm just like, don't say I've been on a stream with him. Don't say I've been on a stream with him. Don't say I've been on a stream with
I've
him.
outed you as having been on a stream with him. Sorry, in this book.
Oh well. Oh well. I mean, it's been so long, though. He's changed. Obviously, I've changed a lot as a person since then. So
Yeah. Well, we all have. We're all very different
yeah,
people than we were. But like Sargon,
yep.
like I feel like he was like a legit like kind of like centrist, center left kind of person
In the
in the
beginning,
beginning.
yes,
In
he
the beginning,
was.
I feel like he
When
was legit.
I spoke to him, when I spoke to him, he was a lot more chill than he is now.
Yeah, same here. Like I cucked his content a couple times with with like bad streaming stuff. But
That's the word.
he was still having me on and we talk about stuff sometimes. Like I only talked to him a handful of times, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, he was pretty chill back in the day. Just like he's one of the people that I kind of look at what they've become, and I'm just like, oh God, dude, what the fuck happened to you?
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
Like if he comes to me and is like, "Hey, Tachyon, look, man, I fucked up, man. The past like 5 years of my life have just been in shambles. I don't know what to do. I feel like I've made some bad choices. I've gone down a dark path. Please help me." Like I'll help him out. I'm not. I don't hate him or anything.
Yeah.
I want the best for him, like anybody else, you know.
I wouldn't say I hate him. I'm more disappointed.
Yeah. Exactly. And it seemed like after GamerGate for a while, like he was going down like a good path. Like he was like, I'm gonna debate the alt right, and I'm gonna defeat their ideas, and then
And
like
I
they ended up like
loved
defeating him
those
and like
debates.
turning him into like one of them.
Yeah. No, I actually really enjoyed his earlier debate streams against alt right people. I was like, hey, yeah, that's awesome. But they just kind of, I think you have to have a certain mindset going into debates with certain people so that you don't become easily swayed by them. And I don't know if Sargon had that mindset.
I don't think he did, but I think it's important to debate the right, like to
Oh,
counter their
absolutely.
ideas. Like I actually think like Destiny does an
Exactly.
amazing job on this.
You know what? I know I was kind of poking fun at Destiny earlier, but I've I'm subscribed to him. I've watched several of his streams, and yeah, I think he's done a really good job on a lot of his debates. There have been a few times where I'm just like playing Minecraft or whatever, and I've had his streams running in the background. So he's not a bad debater, not at all.
Yeah, I
It's
I
more the
go
it's
ahead.
more of the personal stuff that I'm like, some of the personal drama he's gotten into, like, then I'm just like, oh, dude.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess anyone who's involved in this space, especially especially when you're that big, I guess you're always gonna have like all of your personal stuff come
Yeah.
out, and he's very open too. So
You know what? And that's one of the things I like about him. He's very open and honest and with his community, and I can respect that. I don't always agree with what he says, but I agree. I can respect that.
maybe Sargon wasn't the person to debate the alt right because but like I do think it's extremely important that we challenge these ideas and like we can't just censor them and then they all go off to their own like separate platforms and communities and they all like like
Yeah,
that's not a solution.
they
Like that
congregate.
makes it worse if you're driving it underground like this, I feel.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
two, like we have to combat these ideas in some way. And the left has no answer. Like the left, aside from like people like Destiny or me or a few other streamer people, or like some of the few people willing to go out there and actually challenge these people and debate them on their turf and try to convince their followers that they're wrong and like expose them as frauds where it's necessary, right? Like there's so I, mean,
Right.
I don't even do that. I shouldn't throw myself in that category. I used to do that a little bit, but like not anymore. I haven't done that in like 6 years. I'm not opposed to
Right.
it, but it's just you have to weigh like the cost benefit analysis of like, am I going to engage with like the worst part of the internet for the next like 3 years? Is that really worth it?
And
And sometimes it
honestly, that
is.
was kind of, yeah. I mean, that was kind of one of the things that kind of caused me to move away from Gamergate a little bit as I started seeing some people going, "Oh, we need to completely shut them up." And I'm like, no. Here's the thing. I'm always up for letting people voice their opinions, even if they're dumb, even if they're bullshit, even if I find them personally offensive. I'm all for letting people voice their opinions because sometimes they wind up hanging themselves. Like the whole maps movement, that was a thing. You know, you could look at that and go, yeah, I, nah, I think
Hey,
I'm just going to stay away from you.
Lisa, I'm not cutting the interview short, I don't think, but I got a call from my mom I missed,
If
and
you need to take a
she
minute,
sent me a
go call your
text
mom back.
message
Feel
too, and
free.
it doesn't look like it's a good call. So can I take like
Uh oh.
5?
Yeah, go for it. Okay, let me check the chat real quick, see if I could do this without my phone freezing up. Because I have no idea if you guys can hear me or not. I got a picture of that sumbitch. I see you, Slack. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. The fact that I'm dead anyways, let's do this. Okay, yeah, you guys can hear me and you guys can hear Ty too. So, I guess I'm hanging out with you guys for a little bit. How's it going? Actually, I might go ahead and mute for a moment. So I guess we'll both be right back.
Hey, sorry to keep you waiting.
Yeah, no worries. Everything okay?
Not really, but like it's fine. Like it's
Oh.
something. It's something that we knew was coming for a while, but
Oh.
it's yeah, a health issues with one of my grandparents. But
Oh,
nothing.
I'm
They
sorry.
didn't die. They didn't die.
Okay.
But they just are really struggling, and we might be nearing the last few weeks, maybe last couple months if we're lucky.
Oh,
So you know how it
I'm
is.
sorry. I finally saw chat and the person in there saying, "But no booba." That's a friend of mine. Sorry
Okay.
about him.
Okay. Yeah. You're fine. There's also people in the YouTube
That's
chat
one of his
too.
things.
I'm not sure if you saw that. I
Oh,
can link
hello
you the.
YouTube. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's no one in Twitch chat. I don't usually get viewers on Twitch. I get some on Kick and some on YouTube, but
No, Kick's pretty great from what I've been seeing.
yeah, I mean their app is complete garbage,
That's
unfortunately.
one of his.
But
Yeah, it is. It really is.
okay. I swear I hope I didn't just share your DMs. No, I did not. Okay, cool.
Oh, thank God.
I sent you the link.
From what I've been. Yeah, I'm looking. Mr. Yes. Hey, dude. How's it going? Sorry, I kind of want to say hi to
No, you're fine.
everyone real quick. Mr. Yes. I haven't seen you in Nerdle streams in a minute. Thank God.
So have
Grumpy Ketterman. Yeah, I get that. Last Sigil. Hello. Yeah, I'm looking. Okay. Sorry about that.
so have your politics changed? You said you've changed since GamerGate, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
but have your politics changed since GamerGate or because of GamerGate?
Not really. Yeah, I still see negatives and positives on both sides. So no, not really. It's one of the few things about me that hasn't changed since the GamerGate, actually. Yeah, I'm still very, like I said earlier, politically homeless. So I think all sides have their pluses and their negatives.
Are you okay with gaming websites criticizing video games from a religious or political lens, like a Marxist, feminist, Christian, or other type of political critique?
I think they're allowed their opinions so long as they're open about their biases from the very beginning. I think, and this was something I've said in the early days of GamerGate. The idea that we need more women in gaming, I actually agree with that. And I've been really happy to see more and more female characters. I mean, yeah, we've had some well before that. One of my all-time favorite games is Alice Madness Returns, and the main character of that game is a female. But I think as long as you're open with your biases from the very beginning, sure, yeah, everyone should. I think everyone, like I said earlier, I think everyone should have the right to voice their opinion, even if I disagree with it.
Do you do you see any value in that kind of critique, like the feminist critique of games, or the Marxist critique, or anything like that?
I think if anything, it can give me an alternate viewpoint to think about. Like I said, in some cases, sure, because more strong female characters in games, yeah, I can get behind that idea. More bisexual representation, absolutely. I absolutely love what they did with Melina in Mortal Kombat 1. It's not out and out stated, but it's heavily implied that Melina is in a relationship with her top female guard, which I'm cool with.
Do you think that represent?
I think,
Good.
sorry, I think representation is a good thing, but not when it's forced down your throat.
What does that mean? Forced down your throat?
The whole kid showing up like the stereotypical gay kid who's like wearing a giant, rainbows all over his clothes and like, hey, did you know I'm gay? Nah, nothing like that. Um, going back to Mortal Kombat, I think the way that they handled their LGBT characters, I think they did it right. It was either implied or there was a slight mention, but they didn't focus on it. It was just, I'm gonna kill Ty after this interview. Holy shit. And I know that you guys can hear him. And
I
I
can't
am
actually. Every once in a while, I hear like a voice, but
thank
it's so muffled.
God. Thank
It's
God.
yeah, it's
Because
so
what
muffled you
he
can
just
barely hear him,
said.
or not at all on
Thank
my
God.
end.
Okay. You know, it's mentioned or implied, but they don't make a big deal about it. They don't harp on it. It's just like, hey, here's a really strong fighter, a really noble friend who happens to be gay. And that's it. It's a
So
part of him, but it's not. They don't define his character around. Well, I should say there because there was Melina, and then I can't remember his name, and I kind of wish Nurgle were here to remind me because he would know. One of the characters from MK10 who was gay, and in his case, a very you know, yeah, great fighter, noble friend, but he just so happens to be gay. That's it. They don't. I know I keep repeating myself here. They don't make it a huge plot point.
are there cases where focusing on a character's sexuality could be an aspect of the game that the developer wants to explore artistically?
I think in some ways, you know, it can add to the story. There's a game, I'm trying to think of the name of it, and I'll have to look it up. I actually had it on Xbox Game Pass for a bit. But the main male character being trans, being female to male, I think wasn't, the way they weaved that into the story,
Oh, I think I know what you're talking
I thought
about
was
too.
interesting. And I had initially played it because I had become friends with a trans man, and I kind of wanted to get a better understanding of what his experiences could have been like. So that's why I initially played it in the first place. Hang on. But yeah, no, the character being trans added a bit more to the story. If it I okay. I think if it's a part of the storyline, but it's not harped on. Like this game in particular, yeah, it's talked about and it is part of the story, but it's overall like a mystery, suspense kind of game.
So it can be part of the
And
story.
then,
It just can't be like it can't be the only thing. They have to be like real people,
yes,
real characters.
yes, and that was something that I loved about this character in this game, because you got to know a bit more about his backstory, um, some of the trauma he was dealing with. Yeah, and there were times where I completely forgot that I was playing a trans character.
Some people say that GamerGate was the first battle of the culture war. Do you have any thoughts on that framing?
Mm, I can see why people would say that. I'm not. I don't know. It's it's not. To me, I didn't see it as culture war. I just saw it as, I feel like you're attacking me and some of my friends, or some of the people that I tend to hang out with. Tell me why. That's the name of that game.
Are there any framings of the GamerGate discussion that you think are useful? So you talked about how people are attacking your friends. Is that, or well, I guess how do you see it? I guess would be the best way to ask this.
How do I see what Gamergate was? I saw it as de- an attempt to dehumanize a group of people that they didn't like. And while they claim to be all for women and whatnot, I shared a bit of my experience with that earlier. It, I just didn't see it. I didn't see them as that, and so it's kind of hard to answer.
No, I get it. I don't know if there is a single type of view that one should hold on GamerGate. It was so complex, and I think there's
It
multiple
was.
framings that work decently-ish, or somewhat at least.
I think everyone kind of had their own reasons for getting involved, depending, regardless of which side of the fence you're on. I think everyone had their own reasons for getting involved. For me personally, it was like, you know, you're attacking people that I tend to hang out with, but you're also completely devaluing me as a person by saying, oh, you identify as a gamer, but you also say you're a chick. You must be, actually some dude who stole his profile picture for some poor girl on Facebook. I felt that was insulting.
So you've interacted with a lot of people on the other side, um,
Yeah.
multiple capacities on stream, on Twitter.
Hmm.
What was what was this like? Obviously, you had the people who were denying you're real. You had helicopter guy making his arguments. You had other people making arguments. What was if
Yeah.
you could get a feel for what anti GG was as a community, if there was a community even, what would it be?
Oh, there was. Uh, I did find a few who actually, there was the guy that I think it was the guy that Nurgle went after, actually wound up apologizing to me. But I noticed that a lot of the guys on that side, it felt more performative. Like, and let's not even get into the list of anti-GG people in the industry
Right.
that turned out to be, yeah,
Yeah.
and some of this is not alleged. Some of them were convicted. So, let's not even get into that because that's a whole nother can of worms. But I think a lot of them were just so stubborn and I hate this phrase, but set in their ways that they didn't want to stop and consider, hey, maybe I could be wrong about this. Um, the ones that weren't willing to talk kind of dug their heels in. I found myself getting blocked by quite a few people that I've never interacted with. There have been a few times where I'll read a gaming article and I'm curious about the person who wrote it. So I go to their Twitter. Oh, hey, I'm blocked. Even though I've never heard of this person until today. Oh, I'm blocked. Okay. And it was irritating at first. I just started finding it funny after a while.
Did you ever change anyone's mind on this?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I could have. It's possible. Because I can't even tell you how many people I interacted with during the GamerGate days. Probably hundreds.
Do you have any
Over the span of 2
anti-GamerGate?
years.
Oh, God.
I know, just saying, over the span of 2 years, I talked to probably hundreds of people. So it's possible I did. It's possible I didn't. I don't know.
Did you make any friends from the other side?
Mm, I wouldn't say friends. There are a few people that I'd be like, okay, you know what? We can agree to disagree. You're respectful to me. I could be respectful to you. In a few cases, it's like, oh, hey, you mentioned you like this game. I like this game too. Like one person mentioned Alice Madness Returns. I'm like, hey, that's my favorite game. Go. Huh. Okay. It's kind of cool. What's your favorite part? And, got into a discussion about Alice Madness Returns.
I've
So
actually
I
never
wouldn't say I
played
made
that.
any friends. Oh, dude, it's on Xbox Game Pass.
I have the Game
It's
Pass too.
amazing. You got to download the shitty EA thing. Don't get me started on EA. I'm still pissed that they canceled the third Alice game, but it's there. I need to replay it for like the 8th time.
So,
Ninth. Ninth.
what's so great about it?
Just, coming from someone who has dealt with a lot of trauma in her past, uh, I could really relate to her. I won't spoil it. It deals with some very heavy themes later on that I also dealt with. Um, but it was done in a way that I felt was respectful. But at the same time, there's just one world that I try to speed run simply because of how uncomfortable it makes me. Which it's a horror game, it's supposed to, but I don't think he intended this type of discomfort. Um, I'll just say it involves child abuse, and I'll leave it at that.
Gotcha.
But I also initially I was just like, I really like how they made the Cheshire Cat look because you see all these different representations, and he's big and fluffy and just zany, and then you see American McGee's version of Cheshire, and he's skeletal. He's got all these tattoos on him. He's got the ear piercing, and he's voiced by the same guy who voices Ghostface in the Scream movies, but it gives him a British accent. And I thought the character was cool, so I'm like, I'm gonna check out this game. and it had kind of a more goth aesthetic, which I personally like. If you didn't see me earlier in the stream, um, so that definitely drew me to it. But the more I played it, the story and just being able to relate to a girl who is dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of repressed memories, and just trying to deal with it the best she can.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play the games. They look really cool.
It's great.
How is the first one?
The first one's pretty good. Um, I prefer the second one personally, but the first one's good. There are a few parts that felt a bit rushed to me, but Demon Alice's look is really freaking sweet. That's why I am still EA. I'm never going to forgive you for this, for canceling the third game. I've been waiting for years for that bitch, and you canceled it at the last minute.
I remember as a kid, I was like super excited for StarCraft Ghost when this was
Mm.
announced, and then like obviously the game never came out, so it was in like development hell for like multiple years. They never officially canceled it or anything. It just disappeared, and they even did, like a demo of it that they played at BlizzCon. But I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to play this, and then just nothing. Year after year, it was like the number one thing I wanted, the number one game I wanted more than anything else was StarCraft Ghost, and it never happened.
You know what? I got to give credit to American McGee here, because when it came to Alice Asylum, yeah, he kept us updated every step of the way. He even released a full game Bible that had the story line and so much awesome art. You can still get it for free on his Patreon. I just remember when that first came out. I think it was last year, maybe the year before last. No, it was sometime last year. And I just remember hearing about it and downloading it, and I spent like the next few hours just going through it, going, "Oh, this is so cool." And then when he posted when he posted on Instagram that EA wasn't going to release it, oh man, I hadn't felt that disappointed in a while.
Why do you think some
I
people
can't say it enough. Fuck you, EA. I can't say it enough. Fuck you, EA.
Why do you think some people claimed that Gamergate was about harassment or hating women?
Mm, that might have had something to do with the fact that it started on 4chan. Um, you know what? Not all of 4chan, obviously, because you have some people in like the cars board who they don't give a shit about any of this stuff. They just want to get together and talk about cars. Um, but you had groups of people like on B or Poll later on when that became a thing, who I guess some of the things they did could be seen as harassment, like the whole sending oh, what was that rap Pitbull, I think, to Alaska.
Oh, I'm not familiar. I don't know Chan culture that much.
Oh man, there were instances of okay, so did you at least hear about the "He Will Not Divide Us" fiasco?
The
Shia
music
LaBeouf.
guy who was like he had like
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Yes, he had this whole thing for people were fucking with him for years or for months or whatever.
Okay, so the whole thing with what became known as the biggest game of capture the flag. So there's an internet historian video about it, which I recommend
Yes, I've
because
seen it, I believe.
it's great. But for those of you who don't know, Shia LaBeouf had this little art project when Trump was elected president, and after the live stream didn't work, he set up a flag that it was just a plain white flag that had "He Will Not Divide Us" in big bold black letters, and he put it in the middle of nowhere, and all you could see was the sky for the next 24 to 48 hours. There's somewhere in between there. 4chan became fucking determined to find that flag. And they did. And they did it using freaking flight patterns. They found it using sounds of frogs in the background. Then they started looking around for potential social media posts, and they found a post from this waitress who got to meet Shia LaBeouf in Tennessee. I posted a picture of the two of them together. A couple of people, when nightfall came, a couple of people started paying attention to the constellations they could see in the stream. It's scarily impressive that even when given so little to work with, they managed to find it, they managed to capture the flag, and they replaced it with a fucking Trump hat. So, 4chan has proven they are willing to go to some serious lengths. So, I think that could have been part of the reason why Gamergate was seen as a harassment campaign, was because it just so happened to start on 4chan.
How important to you was it that bad actors were condemned?
Very, very. Because it's like, look, they already have a negative view of us. You're not helping. And I was one of the people who was still, like, hey, you come to me if you come to me at least somewhat in good faith, or you're at least willing to have a conversation with me without calling me every name under the sun, cool. It was the bad actors that really made the rest of us look bad. I think it diminished a lot of what we were trying to accomplish.
Do you
So
think
yeah, calling them out as soon as possible and just letting everyone know, hey, this we don't agree with this guy or this group of people over here. I think that was very important.
do you think that the community largely did a good job of condemning these bad actors?
For the most part, at least in the earlier days. I think a lot of people gave people like a lot of the people that would show up later on gave people like the ones in GD Revolt too much of a pass. But earlier on, when it came out that it looked like Anita Sarkeesian was actually getting harassed. I know it's a lot of pro Gamergate people, myself included, came forward and said, "Nah, dude, guy's not cool. Don't do that." I started seeing it less and less as time went on, but at least in the early days, I saw that a lot more often.
So, what exactly would happen if you saw somebody who was quote unquote on your side? Or was this mostly people on your side who were doing the harassment, like Gamergate people, or was it like just random people or trolls, or who was it?
In some cases, I think it was a lot of trolls. In some cases, I think it's people who tried to latch onto the movement, and I'd usually be like, dude, nah. Sometimes I would say it openly. Sometimes if I had spoken to the person a few times before, then I'd DM them and go, hey, dude, don't do that.
You don't have to answer or talk about it, but did you experience any harassment during GG from either side or from third-party trolls?
From antis, yes. Um, there were a few people who I like to think they were just trolls who claimed to be on our side who were like, yeah, we don't, oh, so you're a chick, you're probably some SJW type. I'm like, no. Man, that's a term I haven't used in forever.
SJW.
SJW.
I
Oh
don't
my
use that
god,
kind
I
of
haven't
language
used that
anymore, really.
term. I don't either. I don't either. I really don't. It just kind of makes me cringe a little bit, and I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit saying that out loud. God, and the fact that I used to use that term a lot. God, you know what? I kind of wish I could
Oh
go back
yeah.
and smack that me in the face. They're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You dumb! I don't care if you're in your late 20s. You're being a dumbass kid."
Do you want to talk about what the anti-Gamergate people were doing that you felt was crossing the line? with you personally, or we don't have to. We can move on.
Just like no, it's fine. Just like little personal attacks, like attacks on my appearance or whatever. Um, making assumptions about me just because, like, oh, you're pro GamerGate, you must, just be trying to sleep with a bunch of dudes. It's like, no, not really. Just little personal digs or whatever. The thing that upset me more was when they went after my friends. It's like, look, there is another video I have for evidence, but I had a clip of me. There was a bunch of anti-GGers who showed up in one of Nurgle streams actually, and was calling them a bunch of like rapists and whatnot, just because they're dudes on the pro gamergate side, and it actually upset me more than anything they said to me or about me.
Wait,
You know,
what was this specific incident?
uh, this was in the earlier days. This was not long after I started hanging out with Nurgle. And it happened in the chat of one of his streams.
Okay, that might have been before I got involved. Because I got involved in
It's
2015.
possible. Yeah, possibly. But
Oh wait, are you talking about the specific incident where I've been told this in confidence? I don't want to go too deep because I don't know if they went this public. Was it
okay.
We can talk off air. I think I know what you might be
Yeah,
referring to, but like,
yeah.
I don't know how public the person who told me about this story wants it to be. So I don't want to delve too much.
It happened on a live stream.
Yeah,
So
and the live stream had to be
I
taken down if I'm not mistaken.
well, I mean, Nerdle took down a bunch of his old streams like that, so
Okay.
it was up for a good bit, though. I had the video of my reaction to her up for a good bit too.
Okay, this must
And
be a
I was
different
just
incident.
saying it. Look, and I'm like, hey, and I posted this part because on my own channel for a bit there because I just wanted to say, hey, because after this happened, they started going to Twitter and saying that I was verbally assaulting them or whatever, that I was being antagonistic. And what was really going on, I was almost in tears at that point because I'm like, look, you don't have a right to just come in here and say make such serious accusations about people that you don't know. Leave my friends alone. And I tried to be as polite as possible. And so after that happened and they started, saying a bunch of shit about me on Twitter, like, oh, she's, verbally harassing someone or whatever. I just posted that one clip to show, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah, I didn't know about this incident actually. I was thinking of something else that happened where there was a cursed live stream, very cursed from my understanding.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk about this off stream because I'm
We
curious
are
now.
gonna have to talk off stream.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sure I'm sure if I mentioned like who was involved, you'd immediately remember. But
DM it to me real quick, and
okay,
I'll
all right.
just say yes or no. Because there were a few.
I sent it.
Oh,
That incident.
I think I was there for that.
I don't think I was. I might have been watching in the audience, but I don't know if I was
I
on
think
stream.
I was there. I think I was there for that because that name looks familiar.
Apparently, it was very cursed. In fact, it was so cursed it had to be taken
Yes,
down because it violated YouTube's terms of
yes,
service. That's how bad it
yep,
was.
yep, yep. I think I remember this.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Holy shit. I completely forgot about that, but I saw the name and I went, oh, 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 oh god.
Do you remember? Do you remember the Zack attack incident?
Yep, I remember that.
Like we had these people.
Oh,
Some of
I
these,
remember
like,
the
obviously,
name.
that's not the entire anti-GG community, and that's Gamergazi did condemn those people, to be clear. But
Yep, credit where it's due.
the fact that a fuck ton of them, it was like a dozen people who were like major figures, some of them in the anti-GG community, were like fucking outed
Hmm.
as doxers is insane.
Yeah,
Like Izzy Galvez, allegedly tried to dox Mombot,
allegedly.
allegedly, quote unquote. We got someone with Izzy Galvez's name and Twitter handle tried to dox allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I do remember, and I remember seeing that shit, and I'm just like, oh, are you trying to piss off more people on our side? Because if that's what you're trying to do, you're good job. Applause all around. You did great. You did great at doing something fucked up, but I mean, you did great.
Why do you think the media didn't cover this, or like the harassment that pro GG people received when the anti Gamergate harassment that they received obviously received so much media coverage, whereas we got like virtually none, it seemed.
Because it broke the narrative. Simple as that. It broke the narrative.
Do you have any thoughts on the term sea lioning?
It's a term I haven't heard in a really fucking long time, and I can't even remember what it means.
There was this stupid comic. You know what? I'll just link it to you. It's on
Okay.
Wikipedia now. They even got their own Wikipedia entry.
Oh my god.
Here, this is the article, and it has a picture of the comic in it.
Oh god. Let's see here. I remember the term. I can't remember what it. Oh.
Basically, I mean, like, I don't want to misrepresent it to make it sound more favorable to me, but like, it seems like the sea lining thing it's a term that people made up to describe if somebody makes a public comment and you criticize that comment, but you do so in a way that's both polite but also like insistent, like, hey, look, what's the evidence here? Let's delve into this. And
Right.
like, I think the sea lion was in the right based on this picture, except for when the sea lion followed her home at the very end.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think?
I'm reading over the comic now. I think it's good to ask for evidence, especially for serious claims like pedophilia or sexual assault. I think claims like that, yeah, you could ruin a person's life with those claims. So yeah, I'm gonna need me personally. I'm gonna have to see some evidence before I go believing that. Um,
Like Arthur Chu.
yeah, like Arthur Chu. Um, oh god. I think hounding isn't the best way to do it. Simple. Hey, you got any proof of that? And just leave it at that. I don't think it should border into harassment. But I see nothing wrong with just a simple request for evidence, especially like I said on serious claims.
Do you think Arthur's going to be upset based on you saying that he might have called in the bomb threat possibly or knew about it? Doesn't he have a right to
I'm
be upset?
saying, oh, he can be upset, sure. I'm just stating, you know what? I'm just stating an opinion. I will admit that I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong. There's a possibility he had absolutely nothing to do with it. But I think he might have. Might have.
What do you think about how the media covered Gamergate?
I think they did a piss poor job of it, if I'm going to be blunt.
Did you reach
I
out to?
think they
Good.
I think they stuck too far to one side of the narrative and didn't bother talking to other people that might have been involved on opposite sides. I think that, if they had been a little more willing to talk to people from our side, I think, I think things could have gone better.
Did you reach out to any journalists or media outlets that wrote articles about GamerGate to help correct misinformation?
I made a few tweets. I made a video, just sharing a female's perspective. I'm like, look, I disagree, but yeah, aside from that, not really.
Did anybody from the
I just
media? Oh, God.
I just felt that, big media company wouldn't listen to me.
Did none of them reach out? No journalists reach out to talk to you about this?
Nope. If one had, I would have been more than happy to talk to him.
Me too. We were always willing to we talk to anybody. The only people, only
Pretty
journalists
much.
that ever reached out to me, I think, was gosh, I forget his name. I think it was Jacob something, but I could be wrong. But he was a college reporter. He was writing for a college newspaper, and he reached out to me to talk about it. It's like,
Oh yeah, I think I remember hearing something about that.
like you and I were both involved, to a significant degree. Like I was a very public figure in it too. Like I was very. I mean, we
Oh yeah,
both had our real names out there. Our well, I had my real name.
I
You had your
mean,
first name, I guess, but
yeah, I mean, I don't really. And you got phone calls. I did get doxxed at one point,
I
and
did
my phone
too.
number got leaked. So I had to change my phone. I remember having to call because I was with Metro PCS at the time. I remember having to call them at like 1 o'clock in the morning just to change my phone number. We had to call some local pizza places just to be safe.
Wow. Actually, I had the same experience, and I talked about it openly for the first time a couple days, like maybe like a week ago. Um,
I think the most I talked about it was the next time Nurgle did a stream. I'm like, hey, I got doxxed. And that was it. I laughed it off. I changed my phone number. You know,
yeah, we had to
like
get rid
that's
of
cute.
our home phone, and also the pizzas. They loved their pizzas, did they not? They
Hey, you know what? I'm like, hey, as long as you pay for it, I will accept it with open arms.
getting phone calls
As
at
long
like
as there's
3
no
a.m.
pineapple on it.
Yeah, if they
As long as
pay
there's no
for it, if they
pineapple.
pay for it, but they never pay for it.
Hey, it's like, hey, free pizza. Why not?
But no, I mean, no, actually, it's kind of fucked up. Like we like I don't care if they pay for it or not. Like you shouldn't fuck with people like that.
Yeah,
It's not wrong.
all
It's
jokes
wrong.
aside, yeah, don't do that shit.
Do you think it was? Do you know who did it?
No. And honestly, I didn't care then, and I don't care now. It's something I can look back on and go, well, that happened. I will say that the positive that came from it, it made me a lot more diligent about internet security. So I
Yeah.
guess in a way, I kind of have to. If whoever doxed me is reading this, I guess thank you in a way because you're part of the reason I started researching internet security.
Why do you think that? I mean, these are major publications. Some major publications talked about GamerGate. Why do you think that they didn't reach out to people on the Pro GamerGate side at all to hear like their side of the story?
Like I said earlier, it broke their narrative.
Well, like you think that that's the case not just for the games journalists, but for like the mainstream journalists too?
Oh yeah, I mean we had some of the main news organizations interviewing people like Anita and Brianna. It was clear that they had friends that were working in these like with NSNBC and whatnot. So to me that just proved how corrupt a lot of journalism overall is, not just gaming but just in general.
If a journalist who got GamerGate wrong is reading this now, what do you want them to reconsider?
uh Maybe don't be so afraid of admitting that maybe you're wrong about something. You don't know what the experiences are of the people you might be demonizing. For people like me, I mentioned earlier I dealt with a lot of trauma as a kid. Video games were one way that I dealt with it. Even if it just was to get me away from all the screaming and yelling for a little bit. Because like for me with games like, Legend of Zelda, I getting a little personal here. At least in video games, if I helped someone, they actually showed gratitude. I wasn't yelled at or hit or whatever for trying to help. My efforts were recognized as a good thing. And so video games are part of the reason I was able to get through what I went through. That's why it's become such a vital part of me.
That's awesome, actually. I remember during one of my favorite moments during GG. I have many good moments, of course, but like when
Oh yeah.
Captain Carbine, I think it was him. He started Operation Celebrate Gaming. I think he started it. Maybe he just promoted it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
could be way off here. But I know he was like an advocate of it, and so I made a video as a part of this, and I was just completely open. Which back then I wasn't as open as because it's like, dude, you can't talk about that stuff and be open. Like, but I think the Destiny approach of being open is like a lot better than like the just don't ever mention anything private whatsoever. So, but I really opened up,
Yeah.
and I was like talking about my history with gaming and how it's been a major part of my life and how it's helped me bond with friends and family, and like it was great,
Hmm.
But that video doesn't exist anymore because I deleted everything from back then. But
Yeah. Oh, I remember hearing something about that. Yeah. Like like I said, for me, video games are my way of dealing with a lot of horrible shit that happened to me as a kid that I never should, looking back as an adult, I never should have been through that. But just, whether it was helping people out, like in Legend of Zelda or some of the other random Sega Genesis game that I played, or maybe getting out some anger through Mortal Kombat 2, because I had a Sega Genesis and a Game Boy, or, some of the Power Rangers games. It sometimes it just helped me get my mind off of shit for a bit. Like I was upset about whatever situation I was in. And I could just go and play like the Lion King game for Sega Genesis and just forget for a little bit.
have you seen the Wikipedia article on GamerGate?
Uh, Unfortunately, it's very biased.
Yeah, and everyone I talk to says that.
It's very well. I mean, the first thing you see is GamerGate and then harassment campaign. So from the very beginning, it doesn't paint a very accurate. It's not a very accurate portrayal.
Would you like to see the sorry? Would you like to see the narrative on GamerGate change?
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I'm not holding my breath, but it would be nice if like 10, 20, preferably sooner. But let's be honest, like I said earlier, people are slow to change. Some people refuse to. Um, yeah, it would be nice.
Has your conscious experience as a human been made worse to any degree because of this negative narrative about Gamergate, about the people you know, and that they're
Kind of.
harassers and
Um,
misogynists, supposedly?
it it upsets me to hear people that I've come to care so much about be dehumanized in such a way. It's made me a bit more cynical towards big media organizations. It's made, I think, in a way, and this could be seen as a positive too, it's made me a little bit more cautious.
Well, we've already talked about the favorite video game question. I usually save that one towards the end, but we jumped in with Alice
I
Madness
thought, you know
Returns,
what?
so
I can go over a couple of my few more of my favorites. I've been playing a lot of Metal Hellsinger lately. That game is great. I'm not normally into rhythm games, but it's a shooter set to heavy metal. I'm in. I'm a huge Lorna Shore fan, and the DLC featured a song with the lead singer, so that's how I found out about it. And then I started playing it, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then Carbine got me the full game, and I'm like, yes. I absolutely love that game. I'm trying to get 100% accuracy on this one song. I'll move on to the rest once I've mastered this one. But that's one of my all-time favorites that I keep going back to. Um, if I want to just like chill out and do something mindless, I'll play Minecraft. Um, sometimes I'll go back and revisit the old school fighting games that I played when I was a kid, like like I mentioned, Mortal Kombat 2. But a huge Darkstalkers fan. I still Capcom. Please, if you read this, can we please get a new Darkstalkers game? Stop teasing us by putting Morrigan and Felicia in other games. Just give us a new Darkstalkers game, please. Um, let's see. Death Stranding. Oh my god, I could go on for so long about Death Stranding. I absolutely love that game. That is the only game that has made me like ugly cry at the end of it. Like Ty walks in from work and he's like, "Are you okay?" No. I'm just sitting in the middle of our bed, ugly crying, and I've been ugly crying for like an hour. I just Stranding. Why are you crying? Because I just finished Death Stranding.
I felt that way when I played the Walking Dead game, the first one. But
Oh, that's a
man,
good one.
I really enjoyed it, except for the fact that your choices don't fucking matter. So it's like a good story,
They really don't.
but yeah, I prefer like the Until Dawn or like the Quarry and like those kind of games where like the choices really make a difference.
Yeah, I know so many people say, "Oh, Death Stranding is a walking simulator," and you're not entirely wrong. But I mean, for me, it's the story more than anything, and just I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic survival games anyway. And the fact that this actually happened right before COVID hit, and it's a game where you play a courier where you have to deliver packages to people, in some cases life-saving packages, because everyone has to stay inside. Kojima fucking called it in an uncomfortable way. I got the director's cut of the game for myself for Christmas last year because Epic Game Store was giving away the base game, and you could upgrade to the director's cut for $5. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm getting myself the director's cut. Still cried like a fucking baby at the end of it. And it's like I already played the version for PlayStation, but then the PC version came out and I got that. And I'm like, okay, I've been through it once. I think I'll be okay. No, I still ugly cried at the end of that game. But when I saw the trailer for Death Stranding 2, I'm surprised I didn't set off the neighbor's car alarm by how loud I squeaked. Even Ty's like looking at me going, the fuck? Are you okay? What happened? Oh my god. Those were his exact words, or oh my god, no. That, I mean, it had to do with like it dealt with aspects of string theory and multiverses, and I'm just fascinated by that shit, honestly. I've wasted so many hours of my life listening to documentaries about those very topics.
Yeah, for like 3 days, I was like super heartbroken by the ending of The Walking Dead, and the of the game.
I've heard it's pretty sad. I've
It
heard it's
is.
pretty sad. I've never played through the whole thing. I need to.
The first two games are really good. The third game is like super mediocre, and like the fourth game is, I'd say, personally mediocre, but a lot of people like it too. So
Part of the reason that Death Stranding got me so much, and without going to spoilers or going to too many details, there were aspects of the ending that personally resonated with me on a very deep level. So I think that's one of the main reasons it affected me so much. It kind of like, when I was, I mentioned this earlier, but it kind of reminded me of when I was like 8 and got to the end of Link's Awakening and just that ending and the realization that came with it. You know what? Actually, fuck it. I'm going to spoil it. So at the end of the game, this entire time, you've been on this island, you've been going around, you've been helping these people, you become friends with some of these characters, and the whole thing is you're trying to wake the windfish so that you can go home. You finally get to the windfish at the end, and you are told that if you wake him up, yes, you will get to go home, but all the friends you've made throughout the entire game will cease to exist. Because the entire island, all of this, is part of the windfish's dream. So if you wake him up, everything, the island, the friends you've made, the dungeons you've spent hours of your life going through, will all cease to exist. And for 8-year-old me, that was mind blowing.
have you played
And
the?
the ending of
God.
sorry, the ending of Death Stranding kind of hit me in a very similar way. It was like, wow. Like I had to sit and think about it for a few days.
Yeah, another game I got like super emotionally invested into was Life is Strange. Actually, the first one I really, really thoroughly enjoyed, and I thought actually felt like the True Colors um, game was actually really good too, like the third one they made.
Tell me why it was actually made by the same people.
Which what game was?
The game I was talking about earlier that has the main character being a trans man.
Oh,
That was actually made by the same people.
yeah, I've seen their game on the Games Pass. I've played it for like 2 seconds, I think, but I didn't actually like get super into it. There was a time where I was like super into those kind of games, like super into like those interactive movie type games. Road
Mm-hmm.
96 was really good too.
I have heard good things about that.
Yeah, I'd
I've never
honestly
actually looked into it.
Road 96 was like a shocking. So I this was on my like to play list forever, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
so dumb. It's gonna be so dumb. Why? Like, because like I didn't hear anything about it, and all I saw was like, oh, it's like a sign with Road 96 on it. That's literally the only thing I know about the game, and that it's an interactive movie. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And like one day I did, and I'm like, holy fuck, like this is actually like a super deep like narrative, and it's
I'll have to
it's
look
really
into
well done.
this.
It's a very different kind of game. It's definitely not the kind of it's not like any game I've ever really played before. It's like elements of
You
different
said
games.
Road 96, right?
Yeah, Road 96. It's very much like it's not just one story. It's like a dozen different stories that you play, but they're all
It's on
connected.
sale for $7 on Steam. It's on sale for $7 on Steam.
It's also on the Games Pass 2, I think, if you have that. Or it used to be. I
I
don't know.
haven't
This
seen it,
was
but
two
I'll have
years
to
ago.
look.
It's like a year and a half ago, maybe.
I'm looking. I have it in a tab on my browser, so I'll look more into it later.
Did you attend a GamerGate meetup?
No, actually, yeah. I hosted one. It was the one in Atlanta, and it was where Jordan Owen actually premiered the Sarkeesian effect. I remember because Deus, who is another, I don't talk to him as much as I used to, and I hate that, but he was another friend that I made through Gamergate. He actually came from the UK to America, and I remember he actually was sitting next to me and kind of nodded off because it was like 4 a.m. British time.
That's
And his
awesome. You
body was,
you organized this?
yeah. We didn't have a whole crap ton of people showed up, but you know what? It was still fun. I still talk to Jordan sometimes. Actually, he's a guitarist in a local band.
How was the documentary? Or did we not talk about that?
It would have been better if Dave Sorini had nothing to do with it. I'm not going to go into detail, but all I'm going to say is the way that Davis treated Jordan behind the scenes. It made me very, very, very heavily dislike the guy.
Did you know that somebody's apparently making a GamerGate documentary?
Oh my god, are you serious?
I've been in touch with the guy
Oh
actually.
my
He
god.
sent me his stuff. I've only seen part of it so far. So far from what I've seen, it actually seems kind of good. But I've only seen like the first like 30 minutes, so and it's like 6 hours.
S- 6
But
hours?
I can't share it with anybody because he sent it to me in private.
Okay, if that guy
I don't know
is
if it's
reading
it might be
this,
like 5 hours. I don't want to like put bad juju
if
out there.
if this
But
if this guy is reading this, oh my god, you poor bastard.
no, it's so far from what I've seen, it actually looks good. But I've only seen the first 30
No,
minutes, so bear with
just
me here.
putting all of
I
just
shouldn't talk
putting
about
all
this.
of this.
I shouldn't talk about this. Because I
Okay, okay.
because
All I'm gonna say is
I have a
the
private
reason
pre-release copy. But
the reason I say you poor
I can't share
bastard
it, of course. I can't. But
is is having to dig through all of the various shit that happened during Gamergate. Oh my god, I was part of it, and I don't want to dig through all that shit. So,
you know, you remember when I was considering the encyclopedia, Lisa?
oh god,
Thank God I didn't do that. Oh my God.
I am
This
so glad you
project
didn't do that.
for for you readers, this project was almost an encyclopedia instead of a book of interviews, where I was going to like
N-
do all the research on everything that happened in GG and put it in a book. And I'm like, yeah, no, fuck that. That's gonna take 30 years.
I think it was. I think the first person I heard about that from was Nurgle, and he said it off stream because we will hang out for a little bit off, in a call before he starts the stream. He's like, "Oh yeah, I heard he's making an encyclopedia," and I'm just like, "Oh,
May God help him.
why?" I'm like, "Why?" I don't know.
No, I don't want to spend the next several years of my life on this. I want to spend the next like couple months of my life dedicated to this, doing the interviews, and then maybe like I can edit on my own time and break the transcripts down into like normal, like good book
Yeah,
speak rather than like verbiage speak. But
yeah,
it's mostly going to be completely unedited. Like aside from like getting rid of like the meta comments about the stream itself and stuff.
yeah. No, I think an edited version would probably, I'll have the strong points or the main points all neat and packaged together, make it easier to read.
When I think that the conversational style that I've approached with this, like it's clearly like an interview, but it's an interview with like some clear conversation, not just like answering questions.
Right.
But I do like that
I think
style.
I think some of the conversational bits could, help it seem a lot less, I guess a little bit more open, a little more human, for lack of a better phrase.
All right, we're nearing the end. I know you've talked about Vivian James. You're doing artwork.
Yep.
Do you have any thoughts on anything related to GamerGate art projects, which you yourself have contributed to?
Um, I was willing to voice her for a series that Carbine was working on.
Oh my
I was
gosh, I
because I
completely forgot about this. He mentioned this idea to me like right at the very end, right before I left like all this stuff behind. He mentioned this idea to me. I
yep.
completely blanked. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Oh my gosh.
Oh no, you're fine. Not that I was gonna get because I do a bit of hobbyist voice acting mostly. And I was thinking something kind of like Raven from Teen Titans in a way, but like I don't know, more tired. more just done with everyone's bullshit. And then for Lillian, I think was her name.
The anti-GG avatar.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking something more like kind of rich, snobby bitch type of thing. Like head up her own ass so far that it's a miracle that she can't see what all she's eaten for like the past month. And so, you know, that that was the thing that was going to happen. I think I still have the audio recording somewhere in a Google Drive. I
Oh my
think I
gosh.
could be wrong.
Well, there were so many cool projects. A lot of which were like, painting stuff like that. But then there was also plenty of
The Flash game.
the Flash, several Flash games. Remember there was like this Project Sock Just one they were working on, and it looked like really fucking
Yep.
good. Kite Tails was the voice actress, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember
Or
that.
actually, I think voice actor is the preferred term now, right? For
Mm,
gender neutral or
I don't care either or.
okay,
I don't care personally. I think it's personal preference.
okay. But oh my gosh, yeah, Carbine, like right before I like kind of like moved on from this space.
Mm-hmm.
Carbine, because Carbine and was talking about this project, and I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting. But like I was like
Yep.
already like burned out so bad. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to move. Just do politics stuff, criticize the alt right, do an alt right debate arc where I take on the far right fascists and like and destroy their ideas
Right.
because I think that they're harmful to society.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, absolutely.
and then like I heard nothing of the project ever since. So you actually started working on it, you and him.
I did some voice work. I think it was because there was another one that he was that he was talking about more recently that he wanted me to voice Vivian on was a video game that I think Game Designer was going to be working on, but eventually we just like, you know what, nah. But yeah, the animated series I think is what it was.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh,
I
dude,
was actually kind of looking forward to that, honestly. I
when
was
I
kind of looking forward to that at the time. It's like, I'm not really involved with Gamergate anymore, but yeah, this seems like an interesting project.
is it too late to make happen?
Mm, I think so, personally. Back then, maybe not, but now, we're coming up on 10 years.
Yeah. I guess I'll talk with Carbine because when I'm interviewing him, I'll have to remember to bring this question up. If I forget, please be in the chat and be like, talk about the project.
I'll try
GamerGate the
if I'm not
animated
too busy.
series.
Yep.
But you know what? I bet. Oh, dude, am I partially because he? Am I partially responsible for this project not happening? Because like I didn't.
I don't think
I was
so.
like one of the last major people left, and like I didn't like
I
fully
don't think so.
wholeheartedly back him and support him on this. I mean, I thought it was a good
Nah.
idea, but I didn't. I was already like kind of burned out, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of want to get with my real life stuff, you know. I was
I
like,
think life might have gotten in the way because, like, I was pretty active in it too. Like I said, I was actually kind of looking forward to it, but talk about it just kind of vanished.
well, there were so many
So I'm
projects
like,
that people never finished, like the animated series. This is so great. I can't believe I didn't know you were. Actually, I think I do remember you were a part of this. I think he told me or you told me back in the day. But
I might have mentioned. I know I mentioned it to Nurgle at one point, so you could have heard about it through the grapevine.
yeah, but then like the Project Sock Just game. Then there were like so many people who were gonna write books that never did, like Brad Glasgow.
Yep. Oh God, I remember that name.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's a bad guy or anything. He's just, I don't know
Oh
why he
no.
didn't. He actually did some like legit work. Like he actually did like the study, the survey. I don't know why he never did the
Yeah.
book though. I'm in talks with him, so I probably shouldn't like talk too much shit because I might be interviewing him in like a couple weeks. But
No, I didn't say that to mean,
no, I
in
didn't
a way of
either.
talking shit. Or like, oh God, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to talk shit either. I just, but it's interesting. So many people are like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing, and then they don't do it, and I don't want to be that
Yeah.
kind of person. I mean, I guess I kind of already am. Some people might see me that way because I did do a book already on GamerGate, and I'm doing a second one.
Well, I
But
mean,
remember,
the thing is, I
oh,
think for all the drop projects, I think for a lot of people, it's like, you know, yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but when you don't realize how much work it actually is and how many moving cogs you have to make sure are in place for it to actually come off. And then once they realize it, it's like, oh, okay, maybe not.
well, I think the only project I never finished with GamerGate, to my knowledge, maybe someone's gonna correct me and be like, "Well, what about that thing you mentioned possibly doing?" You know, but the only thing that I actually like seriously started and like did as a project was that failed. I think like horribly was the GamerGate Investigatory Commission. Do you remember this?
It rings a bell.
It was kind of a controversial idea at the time, but it was we're gonna get a bunch of people together, pro and anti
I
GamerGate,
remember,
and we're
yeah,
going to create a history. It's going to be a commission with pro GamerGate, anti GamerGate people, maybe a couple neutral people on there, and we're gonna put out a real narrative that both sides can agree
I
on this. It
remember
was like a
this.
bring
And
everybody together, but I mismanaged it
okay,
like crazy. Well, not I made a couple
okay,
key decisions that fucked up everything. I mean, yeah,
no,
but
no offense when I say this. When I first heard about it, I rolled my eyes. Like, yeah, good luck with that.
well, yeah, no anti GamerGate people would do it except the one anti GamerGate person who would do it was well, actually, Seattle for Truth, who, who I don't think represents like the mainstream anti-GamerGate perspective,
Oh,
like even
he's in
remotely.
jail, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if he was ever found guilty or not, but like he was
I
accused
think he
of.
was. Um, Hang on, let me check.
We better get this right for the.
Yes, let's make sure we've got this right. Hang on a second. I
His
know he
real name
was
is Lane
accused, but
Davis, so I'm not doxing him.
yeah,
Like he's
I'm
public with
just
his real name.
no, I'm just gonna go ahead and look up his screen name because he was charged in 2017. There's a Southern Poverty Law Center article about him.
Oh, he was sentenced after pleading guilty. Okay,
Yep,
he took a plea
he
deal.
sentenced to 17 years. 17 years, so he's in jail right now.
Yeah, but obviously he doesn't like he was pro GamerGate, and then he decided he wanted to become
Switch
anti
back.
GamerGate, and then he was like the. I think there might have been one other anti GG person, so I don't want to say for sure, but we were supposed to have three pro, three anti, and like three neutral. I think it was. I don't remember the exact breakdown, but like, it was a serious thing. Guy took it very seriously, but I didn't. The problem was I was using like polls to try and determine because people voted for who they wanted to be on the commission, right? So
Hmm.
people would vote for who they wanted to be on it. So the GamerGate people voted for three people who were nominated or nominated themselves, and then the anti-GamerGate people, like he was like it was like him and maybe one other person, maybe, but there
Mm.
were three slots, so he was automatically guaranteed on. And I'm like, oh fuck, dude, this is gonna fuck up the whole thing. I knew that at the time, but I'm like, well, look, I can't rig the election, right? Like it's the rules are the rules. I have to let them on, and I think
Right.
that destroyed the credibility of the commission. I should have just put my foot down and said, "Look, I
Yeah.
don't care. This is obvious. You're obviously not representing. If it was you and two other anti-GamerGate people who were like social justice anti-GamerGate people and not anti-GamerGate from like a right-wing perspective, like maybe that'd be fine.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
that decision destroyed it.
I just remember when he got arrested. I got on Twitter one day and everyone's like, "Holy shit!" I've got people in my DMs going, "Holy shit, Lisa, did you hear what happened to Seattle for Truth?" No, he got arrested. Oh God, for what? He stabbed his dad. You fucking what?
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, I probably that's like the only project that failed. I think, like outright completely failed that I did, and that was, or actually maybe the only failure that's like a of a project that I've worked on that failed. But I learned a lot from it, and I feel like I wouldn't make the same mistakes that I made back then now. Um, And also, I think part of the problem with the commission too was that on the website, I should have laid out more clear instructions for how I wanted the commission to operate. As the chairperson of the commission, I was like a more of a neutral figure on it, like just helping with research mostly, I guess. I don't remember my exact capacity actually. This was a very short-lived project. but I should have laid out more what I wanted the commission to do and made that more clear. Because I feel like I
Right.
had this grandiose vision, but then actually implementing that into practice, like, okay, I need us. We're doing research. I'd be like, okay, let's do research on this particular aspect of GamerGate, and we'll come to a consensus on what both pro GamerGate and anti GamerGate people both agree is the truth here. Like that's a good idea.
Mm.
I think in theory there's like a lot of value in that. There
It's
could
a good
be,
idea.
but it's also
I
an
think it's a good
eye roll
idea, but
idea, I
it's
guess
just
too. But
well, my thing was it wasn't the idea so much of itself that made me roll my eyes. It was the idea of, yeah, considering how volatile these two groups of people could be towards each other, yeah, good luck.
yeah, unfortunately it didn't work out. I think it could have been useful, but I
It
feel like
could
I
have.
made some key mistakes, and the buck stops with me. I was the chairperson.
I think part of the reason why you've gotten some anti-GG people willing to come and talk to you now is because so much time has passed. And I think with the passage of time, maybe distancing yourself away from it a little bit, it gives a fresh perspective or an alternate perspective.
Well, I wish more anti-GG people would talk to me, but us
Yeah.
actually, all three of the anti-GamerGate people that I'm interviewing so far, all three of them are people who I built connections with back then. So they know I'm a good
That's
person.
cool.
They know I approach this in good
Right.
faith, or I try to. So it's like that
Right.
personal connection is what helped
It
bring them
helps.
on board.
It helps. Yeah.
All right, all right. Now for some good memories, perhaps. What was your favorite moment during GamerGate?
Oh man. Um just the moment that I realized that I had made some friends that I could see myself being friends with for a really long time. You know, some of the incidences that happened were pretty funny. Like, oh man, okay. So the GamerGate episode of SVU.
I never
Just
saw it,
sitting in
but
a
I've seen
call.
the memes. I've seen the clips and the memes.
You never. Oh, oh God, dude! One of the Paul brothers is. I'm not even joking. Fucking not Jake.
Logan Paul?
I am drunk. Yes, Logan Paul was in it. He's the one who made. He was the one who made the I can't tell if it's real life. I can't tell the difference between real life and video games. That was him.
Was it Ice Cube was the main actor?
He was one of them. Yeah.
He came out later and he's
And
like, actually the media kind of got the Gamergate thing wrong.
oh no, I remember like 2 years after that episode, he just tweeted, "So what the fuck is GamerGate?"
Yeah, but I think he had like a pretty like not like terrible view on it. Like he was actually like,
Oh no, he was like, you know what? Let people enjoy video games.
yeah.
Don't demonize them. That was part of the reason why I started following him. That, and I found out that Body Count was believe it or not, he is actually in a metal band by the name of Body Count, and I heard they were getting back together. So, but yeah, no. I remember we had a huge watch party, and I was streaming our reactions to it, and I got struck. My stream got struck down in the middle of the episode. So we just all hung out in a Google Chats call. God, remember those? We all just hung
Oh
out in a
yeah,
Google
I
Chats call.
liked that, but
Watched the rest of it.
Discord's kind of more fun for me.
Yeah. No, you can actually play games with people and just. I keep telling Nurgle that we need to get a group of people together to play Gartic Phone. Because that game can go off the rails so fucking quick. It's hilarious. I love that game.
Gardic phone?
Yeah, it's like you start with, you put in a prompt, a text prompt, and then you're randomly given someone else's prompt and you have to draw it. And then that drawing gets sent to another person that's playing the game and they have to interpret what they saw. And then it just keeps going for however many people are in there. And out of all of the games that I've played with the various groups of people I've played it with, 9 times out of 10, dicks are involved somehow. Someone puts a dick in a prompt, or they draw a dick.
Well, hey, you happen to know a new streamer, so I might be down, but
One
it's
time,
very different from the normal content I make. So
one time I got a prompt of a zombie dick chasing a car, and I had to draw. Yeah, and here's the kicker: you only have a limited amount of time to do it. So I had 30 seconds to draw a zombie dick chasing a car. I did it. I did it. It wasn't my best work, but I did it.
if you could have if you could have changed one thing about GamerGate, what would it be?
I wish people on both sides could have been a little more open-minded. Because I saw some people on the pro side too. And I mean, I still see them on occasion who are just still have the us versus them mentality. And maybe it's because of all the time that's passed or something. Maybe I've just grown as a person, but you know, the people who, because we all know that there are people on the anti side who still try to bring up Gamergate every now and then, you know, and talk shit about us or whatever.
Yeah,
I
what
just
kind
don't
what kind of
care.
person would be talking about GamerGate in 2023?
um, but no, just like I've seen a few people get upset about it, and I'm just like, I don't care. And I honestly don't. I don't give it any attention. I don't pay it any mind. I'm just like, oh, okay. You know, let it be a dead horse. And that's about all I say. I just I don't care anymore. You know? It's words on the internet. And a lot of the people who say this shit, they weren't there. You know, they're writing about what they've heard
Yeah, true.
about it from other people. So they weren't even there. Who cares?
What would you have personally done differently during GamerGate?
Hmm. Maybe, and I know this is going to go completely opposite of what I just said. Maybe not be so charitable to certain people. Because there were a few times where, like, you know, talking about the stream incident I mentioned earlier, I was trying. I thought that trying to be nice to the person, to the anti GG or Nerdles chat, I thought maybe trying to be nice would, at the very least, maybe get them to back off a little bit. And it just made it worse. So I think I was a little too charitable to a few people in a few cases. I definitely wouldn't have had the us versus them attitude that yeah, I disagreed with it, but at the same time, I will admit that there were a few times I played into it.
You were better than most. You were very much better.
I
You were
tried.
very good about it, I feel.
I tried. But, you know, there were a few times where I let my emotions get the better of me. And, you know, I can look back on that and go, yeah, I could have handled that a bit more maturely. Maybe, you know, not start tearing up a little bit on a stream. But, you know, what can you do?
I think even like being
It happened.
emotional on stream is fine. I think it is actually.
Oh no, it's fine, but you know, at the same time, it's like I felt, you know, in retrospect, maybe I was giving them what they want. Maybe they wanted to try and get me to break down like that, and they got some sort of sick triumph or feeling of triumph from hearing me kind of break down a little bit in the call. So,
I haven't asked.
but
Oh, sorry.
I also kind of wish that, and again, going opposite of what I just said, well, maybe not be so charitable to the people that were attacking me and my friends. Maybe make an effort to reach out to the random anti-GGer that I saw. I'm a chick. I'm a chick who's involved with this. Do you, can I share my experience with you? Because it's very different from what you're saying.
You did cut out slightly. You said you would reach out to the random anti-GGer and share your perspective
Yeah,
because it's a
and just
unique perspective
yeah,
as you're a woman
yeah.
who's
It's like,
worth game
look,
rate.
exactly. There were a bunch of people that were just like, oh, I heard what this was, and I didn't. I just ignored it. Maybe I could have changed a few more minds if I had done that.
I haven't asked anybody about this yet, but I kind of want to delve into it. Do you want to talk about the music that was made by GamerGate people?
I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to a lot of it.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's fine. I wanted to interview one of the GamerGate Sings people, but most of those people are deliberately anonymous. So
yeah, and for valid reason. Some of it was interesting. Um, I remember reading some of the lyrics that were posted when they were still looking for people to sing the songs, and I'm like, mm,
well, some of them were really
nah.
good, and some of them were like bad
Some of them
optics.
were good.
Some of them
Some
were
of
like
them were good. Some
bad
of them
optics.
made me cringe.
Yeah, some of them
Some
were
of
so
them
cringy.
made me cringe. Just like, oh Jesus. Like I couldn't see myself speaking that, let alone singing that.
Let's say it's 10 years from now, and an online movement
Mhm.
is looking to Gamergate, Black Lives Matter, and Occupy Wall Street for guidance for their movement. What advice do you have for them?
Oh boy. Call out the bad actors immediately. If you see some people that are claiming to be part of you that are acting outside of the best interest of the group, call it out and encourage others to call it out. Don't put up with anyone's bullshit. Don't expect everyone to be charitable to you. And it might be a good idea to grow a bit of a thick skin, or at least a somewhat thicker skin, because you're probably gonna have so many insults and accusations thrown at you that if you give it even the slightest bit of attention, then you know, in the person that threw the accusation or whatever at you, they won. Don't don't let your emotions rule you too much. Don't let your anger get the better of you.
Always good advice.
And don't
Oh,
don't see it as us versus them. Be willing to, be guarded, be cautious, but also be willing to listen or talk. Because I think better solutions come from trying to talk things out in a calm, rational manner than they do when you get overly emotional and just run in teeth gnashing.
have you personally learned any lessons from Gamergate?
A few, I think. Like I said, it's made me a lot more wary of just mainstream media as a whole. It kind of opened my eyes up to how much a lot of these news organizations are willing to lie about things. It made me better able to laugh off a lot of insults that I get now. Some of them still, if it's coming from, let me rephrase that. Laugh off insults that come from just random nobodies on the internet. If someone I see as a friend insults me, I'm still gonna be pretty hurt by it. But like, without going into too much detail, another server I'm in, someone called me a snowflake a few days ago, and it was the first time in my life I'd ever been called a snowflake. and I laughed. I read it and I go, well, that's a first. And then I spend the next 5 minutes laughing my ass off. And pre-Gamergate, I don't know if I would have been able to do that. So, yeah, it's helped with that.
Do you think GamerGate was successful in your eyes?
I think it helped a lot of people become more aware of how much, the mainstream media really lies to us. I think it's made more people aware of just big overcrowding corruption in general. Not overcrowding, but just, big name corruption in general. Would I say it was a success? Well, it got a bunch of journalists to, with the meeting you were talking about earlier, to come together and talk things out. So I think in that way it was a success. I think it probably would have been more successful if we didn't have a lot of the bad actors coming in later on that did. But, what can you do?
Be brutally honest with me. I know you will be. What do you
Okay.
think of this interview project?
Um, I think it's a good way to, for a lot of us at least, close this chapter of our lives. It's a thing for me personally. I think it's a thing that happened, and I don't regret it. I don't regret my involvement with it, but I'm ready to move on because I mentioned earlier, I have changed a bit as a person over the last 9 years, and I'm ready to just move on. My viewpoint on a lot of things has, I don't want to say softened, but like I said earlier, I don't care what they have to say about me anymore. I just don't. So I'm ready. I think this is a good way to end it for a lot of us as far as Gamergate goes.
I've
And
heard that.
I think it's interesting you have people from both sides.
Yeah, unfortunately, only one of the people I'm interviewing from the other side is actually going to be on mic. I think the other two are doing text only.
Well, I mean, hey, at least they're still willing to talk.
Yeah. But yeah,
I
I've
think I've
heard.
calmed down a lot.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
think I've calmed down a lot since then. No, you're good. I think I've calmed down a lot since then.
Me too. I still hold like the principal like views I think of GamerGate, like that I
Oh,
believe
same.
GamerGate was about. That like I believe in journalistic ethics. I believe in
Exactly.
creative freedom. I don't think that you should sit. I think that you can. There's certain tactics that people use that can create a chilling effect on the types of games that are made. Like I think criticizing games is
Right.
fine. You think a game is sexist, that's fine. Let's talk about that. But once you start getting like 2,000 people on Twitter to all message the publisher and tell them to take this out, I think that that's when things start to cross a line. That can create a chilling effect on the industry that's not helpful. Like my
I
view
think
is.
that
Good.
I think all the people trying to shut them down and shut them up, I think that was just, you're doing the exact same thing they did. You're no better.
Oh, me debating them?
No, not you in general, just anyone who would message these people and try to shut them down.
Oh, the people who are doing the pressuring the developers.
Yeah.
I
It's like you're no better.
Yeah, I don't support censoring anybody. I support hearing them out and debating them and discussing why I think that their ideas are bad, and they can tell me why they think my ideas are bad, and we can have a conversation. Like I don't, yeah, I personally would never support censoring the people who are doing this. I just think that I think that as a societal cultural practice, that we should probably move away from
Mhm.
that kind of engagement and towards a healthier
Oh yeah,
form of engagement.
exactly. Yeah, I can agree with that.
some people reading this might hold a negative view of Gamergate. Actually, I do want to talk. What you said they're closing this chapter of our lives. I've heard that from so many people, and I feel the same way. I feel like this project for me is closing the chapter of my life, and I've heard it from other people who have said the same thing. Like Lord Nurgle talked about how he wants to close this chapter as well. That's why he's doing the
Oh yeah,
interview.
he's been talking to me about that for a really long time now.
And it's Lord Nurgle was one of the best of us, right? Like if you wanted
Oh yeah.
if you wanted someone who you thought would do like super well in a debate about this, and like, or not even like a debate, but like someone who was super well informed.
You
You
send
could always
Nurgle in.
turn to him, and he would know what was going on, and he could help you out.
It would be like the group of penguins that just shove the one penguin out to deal with whatever issue. It's like we were all the penguins and just like, oh shit, Nurgle here.
It feels good. It feels. I don't know if I'm not the interviewee. Does it feel good to talk about this stuff again after all this time?
Kinda. Because I mean, every now and then, like, I'll come across an old post I did, or yeah, I'll be going through my old videos and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And just like thinking about how much I've changed since then.
Yeah.
I think it's good to it's a good retrospective.
I wish I didn't delete everything from back then. Like I think some of the stuff I argued was like kind of cringy, like really cringy. But some of it was really good stuff too.
Yeah, I think we've all had arguments for we thought we did great at the time, but later on we're just like, oh god, that's a random thought that haunts you when you're trying to sleep.
I was talking with
Just like out of nowhere. Remember that cringy thing you said during that one stream? It's like, oh shit.
well, that's why I had to get rid of it all because it's like I want to focus on my real life, my career, right? I don't want.
Right.
Oh well, 7 years ago on this stream. Oh shit. Oh no,
I
my
know,
life's
right?
over. You know.
Oh no, when I think my reaction when Nurgle was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna delete a lot of the old GamerGate streams. Was oh thank God.
Well, I honestly, well, my view is take it private then because I, you might regret it later on in life because I really did. I didn't think I would, but
Well,
two
I mean
years
that's
after I
why
deleted
all of
it
mine are
all, I
privated.
regret it.
That's why all of mine are just privated.
I
There were
should
a
have.
couple I deleted, but not because of they were GamerGate or because, I thought a take that I made was cringe. It was, dealing with yeah, there were people that I might have had a huge falling out with that were
Uh,
in there that I really don't want to. Yeah. I'm not naming names.
some people reading this might hold a negative view of Gamergate. Do you have anything you want to say
Mm.
to these people?
Uh, I can understand why you might have a negative view of what all happened. All I ask is that you actually do some research into it, maybe talk to a few of us that were on the pro side. If after you've done all your research, you still have a negative view of what Gamergate was, you know what? That's cool. At least do the research first.
Cool. Well, hey, you survived my interview. Is there anything else you want to talk about
Woohoo!
relating to GG or anything else?
Uh, I'm I'm glad I made the friends I made from Gamergate. Um, I have so many positive memories with people like Norgal and Leon, and even long after we all kind of left Gamergate behind. Just like Nurgle, when I was in his nasty car accident last year, Nurgle was one of the first people that I like DMing going, dude, I'm in the hospital. I got a broken rib and all this shit. So I'm glad I met the people that I did, and I still love these guys. Well, okay, let me rephrase it. There are a few people I think I could have done without, but
Well, there's a few people we could have all done without back then, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But
I
most
will
of us were
say
good
that
people, and it's bullshit
most
that we
yes,
get demonized like this.
Also, the stream that happened that Monday Matt hosted between Ethan Ralph and Mr. Medicare was fucking wild.
Was that the one where? Okay, no, we don't have to get into that. That was.
It was a weird, it was like I had stepped through a weird portal into the past. It was it was something. I just remember like the first half hour just sitting there staring at my computer screen dazed going, I can't fucking believe this is happening right now.
Do you want me to send you something absolutely positively fucking ridiculous? If
Sure.
from those days. Okay, well, I'll do it off air. I'll do it off air.
Okay.
Um, but cool. I think we're good. Unless there's something else you want to bring up with GG.
Nope.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and raid some people, and then I'll send you that thing because it is hilarious. I don't even know why I have a copy of this other than I find it funny. So no, there's that. All right, on Twitch. Raid. Kick. I need 2 more people to raid. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm almost done. It's part of like the networking that you're supposed to do, I guess, as a creator. I can do tomfoolery,
Yep.
maybe,
It's
or
not. It's not really.
Angela Knight. Guess we'll raid Tom. Go say hi to DJ Potato on Twitch, and say hi to Tomfoolery on YouTube, and tell them Tacky sent you.